more than a decade, Saturdays and Illegal Curve have been synonymous with one another. With insight, analysis, and interviews regarding the Winnipeg Jets, the Manitoba Moose, and all around the NHL, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show starts now.
When was the last time the five of us were all together? I honestly don't know. It's been a lot of years since the five of us were ever on a broadcast at the same time. I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Dave Manouk is now in the top middle. Ezzy's in the top right, and our two special guests in the bottom row on the right-hand side, in the shadows, Richard Pollock, founder of Illegal Curve, and on the left, Michael Remus, previously of the R desk of Illegal Curve.
I forgot about that.
We've gone way, way back to start this year, this 15th anniversary broadcast of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. February the 4th, 2009, 15 years ago tomorrow, is the first time we took to the Winnipeg airwaves. And God help us, this is what it sounded like.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. And to all those listening in on www.kick.fm, good evening, universe. And welcome to the inaugural LegalCurve.com radio show. I'm your host, Drew.
I want to stop it there because first of all, it was the illegalcurve.com radio show. So that's the shout out to Dave, even though Dave, you won't hear him in that clip. That's the shout out to Dave. And I was so proud to be associated with this show that I refused to use my last name when introducing everybody. If you listen, you hear me say, I'm your host, Drew. And it's only then do I say.
Joined in studio tonight by my usual band of co-conspirators. To the left of me, I have Richard Pollock. Richard, say good evening to the nice people.
Good evening, everybody.
To the right of me, Ezra Ginsburg. Ezzy, say good evening to the nice people.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Red River audience. Let's go. This is awesome.
There we go. Good intro from Ezzy there.
And that was the last time Ezzy had a good intro.
I have a question. How could in your first show you have a usual band of cohorts? How could that even be if it was your first show?
Dave, I didn't know what the hell we were doing. I mean, I think that was fairly evident that we had no clue really what we were doing. It's only been through trial and error and podcasts on Sunday mornings. Richard, you can speak to that. The Sunday morning podcast in Red River College basement that Ezzy was able to grant us access for. That
dark days
started.
By the way, Drew, I forgot what you sounded like when you were going through puberty.
Do you remember the first podcast?
I don't remember the first one. I remember I have vivid memories of some of the podcasts.
Didn't we have James Myrtle on, Richie?
Yes, our first podcast. So in Drew's defense, the usual band of cohorts, I thought the same thing, Dave, because we hadn't been on the air before, but we have been doing podcasts before that. But so our first podcast that we taped with an interview was with James Myrtle in the basement of Red River. And we had to upload it after we taped it. I think this was pre-Remus because we didn't know what we were doing. We had to upload it after we taped it, and it took so long to upload. We went to the Princess Grill for breakfast. That was where Deer and Almond is now. And it's really, we're dating ourselves. We came back. It was finally completed, and then somehow we lost the entire interview.
What?
I believe it was it Pro Tools? Remus would know that program. I'm pretty sure we used Pro Tools, and that's 100% accurate. I did not know, obviously, how to record on Pro Tools, but yeah, shout out to James Myrtle of The Athletic, the first ever guest. I think Patrick Sharp, right, Remo?
Although Ezzy, it was James Myrtle of the Globe and Mail, right, Rich?
Yes.
Yes.
And Patrick Sharp was a guest of ours on our second show on Kick FM. I had a friend in Ottawa who was from Thunder Bay who grew up with Patrick Sharp. Shout out to my friend Stacy, and she got in touch with Patrick and he was nice enough to come on the show. That was the second ever episode on Kick FM. And again, I'm pretty sure we still had no clue what the hell we were doing. I'm not sure that we yet know what we're doing, to be perfectly honest, 15 years in, but that was sort of the origins. And, we can't talk about those shows and Rich without talking about Ezzy's drive to Red River College. Rich, and you can do the honors on this one.
Well, there's a few stories. I was thinking about this before I came on. Are you talking about the time where we were supposed to pick up Ezzy and he didn't answer, might have slept in. So we called him or texted him. These are before like really smartphones, and we texted him. We're going to meet us at the studio.
It was back in the day of dumb phones, Richie. Dumb phones.
Pre-taping podcast, right? So it didn't have a specific start time. So Drew and I are driving down. This would be right around Red River. Don't do this at home, kids. Right around Red River. And Drew and I are like, oh, where's Ezzy? Like, what time is he going to show up? We're sitting at a stoplight at like, I don't remember the intersection. It was Notre Dame and I forget what it was. Anyhow, Drew and I are sitting at a red light, waiting for the light to turn green. We're just sitting there chatting, chit-chatting. Then we had a coffee. We look to our right and this car just goes, whee, right by. Right by.
Right through the red light.
Is that Drew? Is that Ezzy? And he goes, I think it is. I think it is. I was like, well, the light's red. He said, it is red. That's why we're sitting here. So we go into Red River and we're like, Ezzy. He's like, hey, boys, Ezzy, what happened with that red light back there? What red light? That was the line. What red light?
That was it. It was right through the, like, it wasn't even
Guys,
like
in my defense, we had like 10 minutes to go. I was trying to make the show on time. Obviously, I mean, that was not my best driving, but yes, I remember running that red light. And it happened that you guys were parked at the intersection while it was happening. So yes, there could have been a fatal car crash right before that day's show. Yes. But luckily there was no car crash and we were able to do that show. I just want to know, Reem, when are we getting that marble race going?
What? No, I'm trying. I was actually just, you pulled up that first episode. I was trying to pull up some of the first video episodes on Ustream.tv.
Whoa! I forgot about I forgot that we used to broadcast on Ustream.tv.
So Kick FM. That's how I started, because Kick FM, their streaming stopped, and people.
That was before OnlyFans, right? That was like the original
before,
OnlyFans.
like, you couldn't.
I think
stream
it was around
on
chat roulette time.
Yeah, it was wild time. So you couldn't stream anywhere, and I was like, oh, we'll do it on Ustream, which isn't around anymore. And I like plugged it. I put 2 webcams on and plugged the headphones from the desk into my computer, and I even made graphics. I was just thinking about this. I don't even know if I have those shows. I think they're gone now on the internet. But
would that have been before YouTube?
YouTube was around, but you couldn't stream on you couldn't stream on any site. I think live streaming on YouTube only was in the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay. I remember. I totally forgot about Ustream.tv until you just mentioned it, Remo.
Yeah.
Remus was a visionary. He was ahead of the curve.
Let me see if and then I would email the person at Ustream and be like, yeah, we got this hockey show here Wednesday night. Can you put us on the front page? And they did. And then that's how some people found us.
Yeah, I'm not sure any of those people were in Winnipeg, mind you, but they were people and they found us.
Well, I think the Coyotes was a big thing around then. Maybe people in hockey were interested. It's funny how there's still a big thing right now.
I went back. It's funny you mentioned that. I went back and we're going to play some classic clips throughout the course of the next 2 hours. And I promise we're going to talk about Sean Monahan coming up here in a minute or two. But I went back and I was pulling up some old clips and the Bill Daly interview, of course, is when, and he was there with us to talk about the Coyotes and their arena problems. And that was, think about how many years ago that was now. That was Logan. 2010. That was 14 years ago. And it's almost the same issues are still being discussed.
That's when Drama in the Desert, a daily column on illegalcurve.com, became Drama in the Desert and Dixie. And the Dixie part was from you, by the way.
Yes, and because you were concerned that Dixie was, I guess now maybe it has become offensive. They're no longer the Dixie Chicks. They're now just the Chicks. So maybe we've gone completely full circle now that Atlanta's going to get another expansion team, apparently, in the next couple of years. So,
Richie, you haven't been on the show in 7 years. Do you miss Drew hogging the mic again?
It's old times, guys. I'm having a great time. I'm just happy to be here.
This is a lot of fun.
Less Drew, more Richie, I would say.
Well,
I don't think we've aged at all.
Oh my God, that was.
Oh my God, what a picture.
Remember that?
Oh wow,
yeah. So the free press.
Look how much hair Drew has.
That looks way more like Richard's brother Adam than it does like Richard.
I can see that.
Wow, I do look like Adam there.
Handsome guy on the left, right there.
Yeah, the guy on the left.
Last time
appears to
Ezzy
be
wore a tie for the record.
He also appears to be 20 years old in that picture there.
Yeah,
As he,
That was taken downtown, right? Like in the TD Center or something like
no,
that?
that was at the Free Press Cafe because we were
Oh,
doing
right.
a live on location broadcast for the
Free agency.
free agency.
Was that when the
I think I
Bob
was-
was
I think
hired
I-
Michael J? Was that the same show?
I feel like I was at that show, actually.
Richie, I think that was the Zach Parise, Ryan Suter big contract year, 2012.
It would have been 2012. I'll tell you exactly why, because it was July 1st, 2012, because that's free agency day. It was also the day of my wedding party in Winnipeg. So we did the show, and then we had my wedding party that night. So that's exactly when it
Wow.
was. It was July 1st.
I got so drunk at
2012.
that party.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ezzy. That's not news for anybody, though.
I think hold on, but I think Mean Gene has the best comment of the day. How does Drew look older in that picture?
It's my receding hairline back then. Now I just gave up on it. Thank you, Mean Gene. Mean Gene can't be making fun of somebody else's hair. I'm not just saying that.
By the way, shout out to Andrew Haleko. I'm not sure if anybody's watched the documentary Bitcon
Yes.
on Netflix. Andrew Haleko is in that documentary. He just posted a chat. Andrew, of course, is a professor at the University of Manitoba. He's not Michael Edwards, CEO of Centratech. So if you haven't watched that doc, you'll understand what that screen name
Oh,
means.
so okay. I was wondering who that was.
Yes. So it's not he was fraudulent. They took his photo and fraudulently proclaimed him as the CEO of Centratech is what happened in that instance. So talk about frauds. There's 5 of us, and there's also apparently Centratech CEO keeping on rolling on this Saturday morning, the 15-year anniversary of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. I know you both, Remo and Rich, have children to attend to. Somehow, in the last 15 years, we've ended up with at least 10 kids, I guess, among the 5 of us. So just any sort of final thoughts from the 2 of you before we move on to talking about the news of the day, the Sean Monahan acquisition. Remo, I know you did it yesterday, but do you have a sort of a main memory of the last number of years that we've all spent together?
Maybe when the biggest one was around the time the Jets returned. I think for me, there's a lot of excitement in the city, a lot of excitement that you guys had started the show and I came on, and that, oh, wow, we're actually going to have an NHL team here, I guess. And that was pretty wild. I think before that, though, moved from Wednesday to Saturday on moving to 1290. So I think those starting
What
up,
about the time we we ended the lockout?
that I forgot about that. That was crazy too, where it's like I'm coming home, it's like 4 a.m. and the lockout's ending. And did you pick me up or did I cab?
No, I picked you up.
I
Well,
texted.
tell the backstory. Tell the backstory.
Reem,
Who did
Reem,
you
weren't
text?
you DJing that night?
I forget. We were out and it was very late. It was like 2 a.m. And then
Richie, remember when Remus used to DJ? He was good too.
I saw the lockout ended and I texted Dennis Bayak, who was at the World Juniors or something
That's
at the
right,
time.
yeah. World Juniors.
And he's like, you should go in. I'm like, I can't drive. He's like, who can? I'm like, oh, Dave. And he picked me up and we just turned on the TSN feed until people came in.
And Remus and I talked from 6:30 a.m. till I think people started showing up around 8:30, 9 o'clock. But we held the fort. We broke the lockout. We ended the lockout, Remus and I.
Yeah, we ended. Yeah, that was a good one. I forgot about that.
And that, in a nutshell, should tell you everything you need to know about the operation, folks. That was TSN 1290.
There's a reason it's no longer in existence.
That's right. The reason it's no longer in existence. I remember
now,
that.
Rich.
And I remember Remo going downtown as well when Stephen Brunt and we were breaking the news, and you were live at Portage in Maine. I remember that. Audio as well.
That was a good one too. Yeah.
Rich,
did that show
last
from
word to you.
tavern,
You're the
right?
founder of this. You're the founder and to blame of this operation. So
Yeah.
we'll let you get your final memory in.
No, I mean, yeah, you remember the tavern when the team came back. That was an awesome, exciting environment for sure. There was lots of different things over the course of time. And it doesn't feel that long ago, guys, to be honest with you. I was thinking a lot about this, but it really wasn't one particular moment. It was just all the shows we did and all the time we spent. And, we were doing Saturday shows and then we were doing Wednesday shows. And people don't realize that we were getting together before the shows in the morning to prep. And then we were going out after for breakfast and hanging out or for drinks. And we were getting there Wednesday, usually from our jobs. And then Wednesday night we were going out together. So we were spending I don't know, 10 to 15 hours together a week, and that's without including games that we were going to. So probably 20 to 30, if not more.
Yeah.
And I just always had fun. Like it was never difficult or a burden to go to do the show. It was always fun. And if we didn't enjoy each other's company, we wouldn't have hung out before and after. So those are I miss that stuff for sure. And it was a thrill. It was awesome. And so that's it. Just more of those memories. And you guys have obviously done an incredible job growing everything since I've no longer been on the show. And I wish you guys many more years of success.
Yeah, it's been nice to see you for the first time in a decade. Also,
Yeah, Richie, I had no idea that you had twins.
Boys, thank you. We'll let you get back to your families and your respective loved ones. It's been nice reminiscing, and of course we do get together off air. So I'm just joking, tongue in cheek, that we don't see each other. It's still it's been fun, and it's been a wild ride, and it's amazing that it's been 15 years of this broadcast, and all of us integral components of it for now, from before, and of course forever. It's a pleasure on this Saturday morning.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
And Remo, great job on Winnipeg Sports Talk yesterday. I caught it. You guys had like 13 or 1,400 people watching live when I was watching. You might have had more later, but I mean, obviously the Sean Monahan trade happened right before you guys went on air. So you and Huss did a great job. I caught Murat. I didn't see Dennis on, but obviously, great to see that you guys had Dennis on. And yeah, you guys killed it yesterday.
Thanks. Yeah. Shout out to the Jets for doing a trade on a weekday, not on a long weekend. So it was great.
Well, we preferred it today, but we'll give it to you guys. It was yesterday.
Yeah, we got the Line A trade. They can get the Monahan trade.
That's true.
It's only,
by the way, I still need a Winnipeg Sports Talk hat or toque or hoodie.
Okay, call me.
Call me. Well, I don't pick up the phone ever again.
Call me, maybe.
You know where
Thanks,
to find
boys.
me. Yeah,
Bye, boys.
There they go.
And we're back, the trio, of course. Big thanks to Rich. Big thanks to Remo for joining us this morning. A special 15-year anniversary of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It's amazing. February the 4th, 2009 is the first time we got together on the Kick FM airwaves. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to say, hold on. Remove that comment for a second. So I can show, because we have a message from someone. Hold on one second.
Hey, Drew, Dave, and Ezzy, congratulations. 15 years for the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Wow, that's a terrific milestone, and a well-earned one, too. You guys have become a real big part of the hockey firmament here in Winnipeg, and certainly throughout Canada. I know lots of people that throughout the country, in the States, and probably worldwide that spend some time with you guys on a regular basis. It's a great show, and your passion and your fun. I mean, the element of fun that you guys always bring every week is, I think, a contagious part of why people enjoy listening to you guys. You do a great job. You always have. It was such great fun working with you guys. I have immense respect for you, and I hope you continue on for another 15, 20 plus years. I mean, you're an important part of hockey lore here now in Winnipeg. So again, congratulations. Take care. And listen, I hope to see you soon, guys. We got to do some lunch here soon, okay? Take care. All the best.
That's fantastic.
Wow,
That's Chris.
I didn't know about that, Dave.
I have a few more things. I have a few more things up my sleeve, fellas.
boy.
So stay tuned.
That was Chris Brook. Chris Brook, for all those of you who don't know, it was the program director at TSN 1290, and he was instrumental in us coming aboard there, and he was a mensch of the First Order, still is a mensch of the First Order, so it's great to see our good friend Chris
That was
Brook.
amazing. I mean, we used to, when we did the show, the Saturday show, and then also obviously with the Wednesday show, Drew, NHL This Week, it was called NHL Midweek. That's going back a long time. We used to have our conversations before the show and kind of, break down how the week was going or what was happening in the hockey world. So, I mean, we used to see Chris at least once a week, if not 2 or 3 times a week, if we were doing shows at Boston Pizza or, Polo Park for the Christmas Toy Mountain show. So, I mean, that's great. I really appreciate that. Chris gave us our break, right? Like, he gave us a chance. He gave us a shot, back in 2010, right? Oh God. We're old guys. Like we're going to get into the Sean Monahan trade. I know some people are getting a little bit antsy here in the chat. We're going to be breaking down the Sean Monahan trade for the next, 40 or so minutes before we bring on Scott Arniel, Jets associate coach, but I mean, you know, part of the reason why we wanted to have Rich and Remus on, and, you know, we've been getting so many great messages, you know, on Twitter, Facebook, social media. I mean, it really, I think we wanted to bring it back full circle, right? Like there's a lot of people that helped us out back in the day and gave us a chance. Obviously, Mr. YouTube also gave us a chance. So we want to thank him, Mr. YouTube, or is it a Mrs. YouTube? I'm not sure.
No, it's a Mr.
Yeah, Mr. YouTube. So we want to thank him as well for the last 3 years. But
well, the guys who started YouTube are male.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, but I think we want to get into the Monahan trade, don't we, Drew?
Yes, we do. Like, and as he mentioned, Scott Arniel, Jets associate coach, is going to join us at 10 a.m. this morning. So be sure to stay with us there. But yes, the big news of the week, we, you know, sort of as we were preparing for this week, we sort of thought All-Star break, bye week, going to be a bit of a quiet week, not going to be a lot newsworthy. Well, that obviously isn't the situation. The Jets making the big splash yesterday in acquiring Sean Monahan from the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for a first-round pick and a conditional third-round pick. My favorite part about that is that the conditional pick is in 2027. So who the hell knows if we're still going to be doing the show then? Who the hell knows if we're
That's
all
when
gonna be
Salt
around
Lake City
till
is going to enter the NHL, Drew. So it's going to be perfect timing.
There you go. So a conditional third-round pick that goes to Montreal if the Jets win the Stanley Cup this year. I guess your initial thoughts on the trade would be where I would start with that, boys. I mean, you saw what Elias Lindholm went from Calgary to Vancouver for. When you look at that return and when you look at what the Jets paid for Sean Monahan, how do you sort of, come to grips with everything that's occurred this week?
Yeah, it's a good way of framing it, right? Because, I mean, Dave was on the call, right? Dave, I know you posted it. I didn't have time. There was so much going on yesterday that I didn't have time to listen to it. I just kind of, read the excerpts that Dave posted on the website. But Chevy, I think, mentioned that after the Elias Lindholm trade went through, that there was more urgency to make the move for Sean Monahan. I'm curious to know how long the Jets have had Sean Monahan in their sights, because I think it's been a while. I don't think that this just came up in the last week or so. I think that, they might have even wanted to acquire him last year, but he got injured, right?
If you listen to what they said, that he's apparently been an apple of the Jets' eye since his draft year.
Right.
The Jets have been interested, which is what they say all the time.
And you've been the apple of my eye since 2010, Drew. So I think, I should mention that as well. But yeah, so I mean, Monahan, look, we all know, guys, Monahan, 5 or 6 years ago had the 82-point season, right? Like, he's not that player anymore. Sean Monahan is not an 80-point guy anymore. He's more of kind of a, 50 to 65-point guy. He's having a good year. But the reason why I like this trade the most is because you don't give up any prospects. Like, I didn't like the fact that the Jets lost Declan Chisholm for nothing. Like, obviously, I don't think, look, the Montreal Canadiens have a lot of good young defensemen. Caden Gooley is one of those guys. And obviously Lane Hudson, Dave, who's absolutely tearing it up in the NCAA, right? So I don't think that the Habs were after a defenseman, but maybe a second-round pick and a prospect was something that they talked about. I don't know. But, Drew, I like the return because the Jets already have a high second-round pick. They have the Habs second-round pick, right? So, I mean, you give up a first-round pick. That's what I like the most about it. You've bolstered your lineup, Dave, up the middle. Now you can go Scheifele, Monahan, Lowry, Nemesnikov, or, Gustafsson or Kupari. The Jets have, I'd say top 5 center depth in the NHL right now. Are there other players that are out there that are better than Sean Monahan? Like, a guy that's been thrown out there, Claude Giroux. Yeah, I mean, Claude Giroux is better offensively than Sean Monahan. He's also got another year in his contract. That's what I like. This only cost the Jets about, $780,000 remaining on his deal. They give up a late first-round pick. But you're okay, Dave, giving up the late first-round pick because you're going for it this year. The Jets aren't just happy to get into the playoffs this year. The Jets are going for the Stanley Cup. They have a team that they believe can win it all. It's a completely wide-open year. Just look at, the wild card standings in the Western Conference and Eastern Conference. Somehow St. Louis is near a wild card spot. I don't know how that happened. And then you've got Toronto in a wild card spot, whereas last year they were second place in the Atlantic. So it's completely wide open. I like the move. Monahan can win some faceoffs. He can score some goals. He'll help the power play. You didn't have to give up any prospects. A late first rounder, I think most Jets fans, they're fine with giving that up, Dave.
No, I think you're right, Ez. And I think that's one of the things that you would have to look at and say, well, what is a first round pick? And Jets haven't exactly hit it out of the park. Now, if this pick ends up being 16-20, the Jets can do well in there, Kyle Connor. But the fact of the matter is that the late first rounder versus Montreal, still having Montreal's what's going to be an early second rounder, it's essentially 10 spots we're talking about, really. So ultimately, and I could read you. Don't get me wrong. We could do it both ways.
Well,
You could
it's
read guys.
10 spots, assuming the Jets don't flame out.
No, of course. I was saying it could be. That's why I said earlier that it could be an earlier, like a 16-20, which you don't want if you're the Jets. But of course, most likely, based on the way this team is with Connor Hellebuck, the presumption would be that pick is going to probably be a later one. And the point I'm making is that if I read you the list of people drafted in the last 10 years in those rounds, they're not all hits. People think first rounder, it's gold. Don't get me wrong, it is. But as he said, you've got your prospect pool, you've got your Lamberts, you've got your Chibrikovs, you've got your Salamonsons, you've got your McGroartys, you've got your Barlows. You've got a pretty good talent pool right now in the organization. And of course, you want more. You want to keep building that. But ultimately, this is about winning a Stanley Cup. This isn't about just participating. And the Jets look, guys, what if we watched the last 2 weeks without Mark Scheifele? And I'm not saying that Sean Monahan is going to replace Mark Scheifele. Clearly, that's not the case. But the Jets needed to augment their center depth. And now they've done that because they've added a guy who, look, is he as fleet of foot? No, not necessarily. Can he fit in the system and thrive, especially? And also, let's be aware that what this is going to do is it's most likely going to get more minutes for Nikolai Ehlers and Cole Perfetti. Right. So I think it will have also a very positive in the sense that maybe it takes a minute or two off of the Lowry line. It gives the Ehlers Perfetti line more time to do some stuff. And I think that's going to be a big benefit for this Jets club. So it adds to the depth. It's what we've been talking about for as long as we've noticed it, is at the center depth. Honestly, like I said, before Mark Scheifele, we were like, well, you could probably use it augmenting. Once Mark Scheifele's out of the lineup, now you're like, okay, well, it definitely needs augmenting because you can't factor in. Look, the Jets lost Mark Scheifele in the playoffs last year. And I'm not saying you're going to ever replace him because you're not, but you need to be able to bolster it. And I think that's what this move has done.
I think you make a really good point, Dave, about how the domino effect of this move isn't strictly Sean Monahan, and now your center depth is improved. If that gives Rick Bowness more trust in his wingers, in Ehlers and Perfetti, then that is a big boost, for the entire team as well. I think that's a very good point that, now Rick Bowness is comfortable throwing that line out there. Potentially, Sean Monahan, he's very adept at strong side faceoffs. So when the faceoff is on his strong side, he's very good in that area. And that has obviously been a concern for the Winnipeg Jets, never mind the special teams, which of course we'll get into momentarily. But all of a sudden, you can throw out that line, which means that Ehlers and Perfetti get more time. And anything that gets Nikolai Ehlers more time on the ice is a benefit for the Winnipeg Jets moving forward. So
and Ehlers might end up playing on the top line, but then you've got Kyle Connor on the second line, right? I know the analytics favor Ehlers with Scheifele and Velarde, but for now, I mean, Rick Bowness, did he not even say that? I mean, he said the line is going to be Ehlers, Monahan, Perfetti. So we're just going off of, I mean, this can change obviously, but these are great problems to have. If you're interchanging Ehlers and Connor on your top two lines, I don't think anybody has a problem with that, right? And I think, Drew and Dave, you're absolutely right. And what this does now as well is if you want to go full trickle-down effect, you've got Nemesnikov, Morgan Barron, and Alex Iafallo on your fourth line, okay? Not only is that a good fourth line, but look at it like this. Alex Iafallo has played on the second line, and so has Nemesnikov. So now you have players that were on the second line playing on your fourth line. Now you're talking some of the best forward depth in the NHL. Look at, I think, teams like Colorado, Dallas, Vegas, Boston, there's some other good teams out there. But if you were to go player by player, if you've got a guy like Morgan Barron or a guy like Alex Iafallo or Nemesnikov on your fourth line, not many teams can compete with that type of depth, right? And I saw a few comments in the chat, guys. Rasmus Kupari will be your 13th, most likely. And you have to factor in injuries, right, guys? Because Gus Bus still hasn't played in a while, right? So Gus Bus is an option. There is a chance, guys, that, a guy like Axel Jonsson-Fjallby or Dominic Toninato can be lost on waivers. But that's kind of the cost of doing business. If you bring in a guy like Sean Monahan and you don't give up a roster player, that's going to bump somebody down. So look at, I hope
you're acquiring an NHL regular, a bona fide NHL regular versus guys who are, you know, with all due respect to AJF and to Dominic Toninato, guys who are fringe NHL
Sure,
regulars.
and
It's a
they
trade
did
you
a
make.
great job. They did a great job on
Yes,
the
they
fourth
did.
line. I called it the mad line. Some people were calling it the damn mad line or the damn line. They did a great job in 10, 12 games, whatever they played together. But the reality is, you've got Rasmus Kupari, you've got David Gustafsson, guys that can play center. So and the Moose are most likely going to benefit, Dave, from getting one of Dom Toninato or Axel Jonsson-Fjällby if those guys are assigned to the Moose, right?
Yep.
So I mean, this trade again. I know there were a lot of Jets fans that were excited of the chance to get, an Elias Lindholm or maybe a Claude Giroux, or who's another guy out there, Casey Middlestat. Middlestat, by the way, we don't even know if he was available.
You
He's
mentioned Brock
leading the
Nelson
Sabres.
before,
Exactly.
Adam
Brock-
Henrique.
Yeah, Adam Henrique. By the way, doesn't Adam Henrique seem like such a fit for Colorado? That's the team that I think makes a lot of sense for Colorado. And now that Vancouver and the Jets have loaded up,
Yeah,
you
everyone
got to
else is
think
gonna
that
go
other
too.
teams are now kind of starting to feel
Well,
a little pressure.
And the other benefit that we should mention, I know you're going to want to go to break, Drew, but the other thing I would mention, though, is the fact that the benefit is that by getting Monahan now, he's in the system 15 games more than if you acquire him at the trade deadline. So
Right.
he can integrate into the system. He can be comfortable within the framework of the Jets. Hey, it's +4 in Winnipeg. It's -6 in Montreal. I jokingly said when he speaks tomorrow, and we'll have that up on our YouTube channel, that you should convince him. Yeah, this is what Winnipeg's always like. It's always sunny in Winnipeg and +4 in February. So no, but that's another benefit, is that you will get him for an extra 15 games. And I think that's a huge thing for the Jets. Oh, hold on 1 second. Hold on one second. Someone else wants to say hello to the Legal Curve.
Hi guys, Dennis Bayak here. 15 years for the Illegal Curve. Wow. Congratulations. It's a lot of work, a lot of dedication. 15 years, congratulations. Here's to another 15.
There you go,
Wow.
Dennis. Look at you, Dave.
I got goosebumps there.
Anytime we can talk to our
Wow.
good friend Dennis, it's certainly
Amazing.
well worth doing so. We will go to break momentarily. More on the Jets. What's next for the Jets? Of course, Scott Arniel coming up at 10 o'clock as well. It's great to see all these salutes, but we've had a lot of fun over the last 15 years here on the show. We have some classic clips we're going to play throughout the show as well. Here you go.
Richard, when you were in New Jersey for the draft,
Yes.
and as it's something we've discussed on the show many a time before, you don't, when you go away with Ezzy on a vacation, you, anybody, the people in the rooms next to you, tend not to sleep very much. So would you like to update the audience about that?
The first 2 nights, we stayed there for 5 nights. The first 2 nights.
It's a beautiful
First of
hotel.
all, I don't know how you can spend 5 straight nights with one another without killing each other.
You can't. First 2 nights he was wheezing, so it was okay to sleep. The third night he
wheezing.
didn't get home till 6 in the morning, so we were fine that night. The final 2 nights, though, I didn't sleep for more than 10 minutes both nights. So we decided we had to tape Ezzy's snoring, because we had to show demonstrate to the listeners just how bad his snoring is.
Now, is that the old tape of him snoring, or is that
This
the
is
new tape of him
amazing.
snoring?
This is from last weekend.
So this is just snoring that was happening in New
Hold
York.
on, I don't think it's that bad. Sure, you're asleep. Why would you think
it's that bad?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
This is
like,
pretty bad.
It's not erratic. If anything, there's like a rhythm to it.
I love when you say that there's a rhythm to it, Ezzy. That's my favorite part of the line.
Okay, hold. The funniest thing is, Drew, I didn't know that you were going to play this. Just like
Yeah.
I didn't know that Dave arranged that with Dennis Bayak. Thank you so much, Dennis. I mean, Dennis is one of the all-time greats. So I don't even. There's words can't even describe how much that means to us. But shout out to Dr. Jordan Hockman, ENT doctor. I'm not sure if he wants his name mentioned on air, but I had an appointment with him yesterday, and he actually had to remove a specimen because I have a polyp. If you guys know what a polyp is, in my nose. So it's funny that you brought that up, Drew, because obviously I've had a CPAP machine for the last 7 or so years, basically when Naomi forced me to get one. But I actually might have to get surgery because I have a polyp in my nose. POLYP if you want to Google it. So yeah, shout out to H. I was there yesterday, but yes, I used to have a pretty bad snoring problem.
Hold on, Ezzy. We got one more for you. 1 second.
Hey guys, it's Paul Edmonds. 15 years of Illegal Curve. Congratulations. I'm not so sure you remember this, but when we first met, it was in Chris Brooks' office many years ago. He was the former program director of TSN 1290, and you guys were taking over that Saturday morning slot. And from that day forward, wherever the technology and mechanics of our industry has forced you to be, one thing has been consistent, that you guys have always delivered: a radio program a talk program, a hockey program full of insight and passion every week and sometimes multiple times a week. You've always been ahead of the curve, almost illegally, hence the name. Congratulations, gentlemen. 15 years. Here's 15 more coming up, and I'll be glad to be a guest on it anytime, as always.
Oh,
There you
man.
go, Paul Edmonds.
Paulie, Dave, you're really
Dave loaded him up.
pulling at the heartstrings here.
Yeah, I got more.
He's
I got more. Don't worry.
That means stay with us. It's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show celebrating 15 years on this Saturday morning.
Keeping Winnipeg laughing for over 30 years. Rumors, Canada's longest-running comedy club, bringing you the biggest laughs from the best comedians on the planet. Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the greats, and all the up-and-comers too. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party. Even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Hey, Drew.
Ezzy, whoa, what a smile!
Yeah, I got my crowns done at Linden Market Dental Center, and they whiten my teeth.
I see.
They're so bright that every time I smile, they go...
We have hockey tonight. Do you have a mouth guard to protect those pearly whites?
I sure do.
Whoa, they even ting through the mouth guard.
Linden Market Dental Center covers all your dental needs, from restorative to cosmetic dentistry, and will fit you with a sports guard for that active lifestyle. 877 Waverly. See lindenmarketdental.com.
This Valentine's Day, heart-shaped pizzas are back at Boston Pizza. On February 14th, share your favorite delicious Boston Pizza with the ones you love. Your locally owned Boston Pizza will donate $1 from every heart-shaped pizza sold to the Travis Price Children's Heart Center and the Children's Hospital Foundation of Manitoba. To order, call 925-4111. This Valentine's, share the love with a heart-shaped pizza from Boston Pizza.
We did it again!
You're on fire, man.
There's power in a handshake after a great game or great deal. It shows professionalism and respect. Two qualities Zappia Group Realty take pride in. You don't build a business where 95% of your clients are referred by others without honesty, integrity, and total dedication to client satisfaction. To sell your home for more in less time, shake hands with Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Get started at ZappiaGroup.com.
I have to pay tribute to the chat, as you often do on this show. The number of people who are making fantastic polyp-related jokes about Ezzy is just terrific.
Like Richard Polyp?
Richard Polyp is how you have to name the polyp. Yeah, there's a lot of great polyp-related jokes occurring in the chat. And that's kudos to all of you good folks who, of course, join us on a regular basis and keep the chat lively and entertaining. And you're doing so as well on this Saturday morning.
Okay, hold on. One more. Hold on. Who's popping in now?
Oh, boy.
Who might have...
Hey, this is Dan Robertson, voice of the Jets on TSN. I want to wish a happy 15th anniversary to the good folks at Illegal Curve. 15 years is a long time in the sports media business. We know how the landscape has changed over the last little while, and there's lots of competition for viewers and hits and all of that sort of thing. So obviously you've done a great job carving out a niche with that Illegal Curve stick. I'm entertained every time I watched. I've been in this job for a year and a half, and I've been on a grand total of one time. Prior to that appearance, there were some long nights. I was thinking, I think the job's going well, but the guys at Illegal Curve, they've not asked me to come on. There were a few tears. There's some scars internally that you can't see, but they're there. But I have been on once, so that's kind of dulled the pain a little bit. So happy 15th anniversary, and here's to 15 more. and maybe even more than another 15.
But he's wrong. Dan,
he's been
we
on
love
twice.
you. He's
That's
been
what
on
I was going to
twice.
say, Dave.
I know.
Shout out to Dan Robertson for doing that. I mean, just like Dennis and Paulie. I mean, and Chris Brook obviously at the beginning. That's awesome. But yeah, he's been on twice.
Well, and he was also on in the radio days. Like he was on when he used to work in Montreal on TSN. That's right. So
690 with our friend Amanda Stein, and you guys know this, but once, because I used to go, for those who don't know, back in the radio days, Dave would always go into the Jets dressing room, and either Drew or I, mainly me, because Drew's has a social life and he couldn't make most Jets games. I don't have a social life, so I go to Jets games. Anyways, I would usually go in the visiting room. So one night, the Habs are in town. Dan Robertson, he didn't record the audio of Carey Price, and I remember I had the audio on my little tape recorder of Carey Price. And I emailed it to Dan Robertson. That's when I first met Dan. This is like
I'm most amazed you can email a tape recorder. That's the most fantastic part of that.
MP4, Drew. I sent Dan an MP4 file. But yeah, Dan is an absolute beauty. And obviously Dennis, is a Hall of Fame.
You're not going to be able to list all the people. There's so many people, including someone from out west. And then we'll get back into the Jets talk. But someone from out west wanted to send us a message. Hold on,
gentlemen. And I use that lately. Hello from the west end of Calgary, the mountains in the background. Things have changed out here a bit, but not really. Nothing's changed there in Winnipeg for you guys, I understand. I was out at the liquor store the other day, got a 15 box of beer, and I got thinking, what else is 15? And it came over me, I don't know what it was, but I thought, you know what, Legal Curve. They're 15 years old too. I mean, you're not 15 years old. I mean, sometimes you guys act like it on the air, but the show itself, the website, 15 years. So that's been great. I was down in Palm Springs last week, and Dennis Back, we met up for a beer with him, and we got talking about the Illegal Curve and how we could name all 5 or 6 or the original 4. But 13, 14 years ago, when the Jets first started and we first arrived from Toronto, the two of us, we couldn't name any of you because one of you was in the rink at only one time. None of you were, you all weren't together at once. So it took about a month and a half, we were laughing over this beer, about finally getting to know all you guys. Anyway, it's a testament. The radio station came and went. You guys were there before the station, you're there after the station, and then hopefully you'll be there for another 15 years. So keep up the great work on the Jets and the Moose, boys.
Okay, guys, how much time are we going to talk about that hat?
The hat is going to get the hat is going to get its own show. I think there's going to be a whole show going on about the hat afterwards.
Rick, he's
incredible.
The best.
It looks like Dan's in the chat there, so or somebody named Dan pretending to be Dan.
No, it's Dan.
It's Dan, I'm sure. Anyways, thank you, Dan, for your.
Did you get those bagels, Dan? We need to know if Dan got those Bagel Smith bagels.
That's always important. We'll
Montreal style, baby.
This has been great. This is Dave doing great work getting all these clips. We have more throughout the course of the show, and of course, more classic clips as well. Let me ask you guys this. We talked about Monahan and the acquisition. What's more for the Jets to come? Is this it? Are they done? Or do you think there's supplemental moves beyond this? Because we know
they're not done.
They still have the salary cap space to do it. We know that they haven't traded any prospects. Maybe they don't want to. We'll see. Time will tell. But is there more for the Jets to do in your perspective after the Monahan move?
Well, I'll start, Dave. I think right now the Jets roster is pretty damn good. I think you can make an argument that the Jets don't really need to make any more moves. The only thing I would say is now that the Jets have lost Declan Chisholm to waivers. By the way, we have that's the thing. Drew was joking at a couple days ago, Thursday. I was thinking, what are we going to talk about? Obviously, Declan Chisholm, being claimed on waivers. I think it was on Wednesday. It was going to be one of those things. Obviously, I thought maybe we would touch on Michael Bublé being on mushrooms at the All-Star game.
We still might.
Yeah, we still might touch on that. I mean, I had microdosed as well today at 8 a.m, so maybe that might start kicking in pretty soon, boys. But I mean, the reality is, the Jets probably could use another depth defenseman, right? I've been joking, guys, the last few weeks. They need to find this year's Jordy Ben. Chris Tanev would be nice. Chris Tanev is a great defenseman that I think could either play with Josh Morrissey, Dave, or he could play with Brendan Dillon on that second pair. That most likely moves Neil Pionk down with Dylan Sandberg. Nice little Minnesota connection there. And then obviously the other Minnesota defenseman would become your 7th defenseman. So Drew, to kind of, make it a long answer short, I think Chevy probably acquires one more defenseman and maybe a depth winger.
I don't know. I understand the defenseman argument, and I don't disagree with you necessarily there at all, Ezzy. But given what they're talking, the talk of Ville Heinola yesterday, Dave, in the press conference, I think the Jets are expecting Heinola to come in and be one of their top 6 defensemen sooner rather than later. In the latter half of this year after the All-Star break. I think they're still expecting that Ville Heinola is going to become a regular on the back end. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Jets go looking for a upgrade on the wing rather than a defenseman at this point in time. That's just just my perception, sort of
Well, they
reading a
definitely
little
don't
bit.
need any more centers, right, Drew?
Well, I don't think you need a center. I don't think that would be priority. But, the cost for acquiring wingers at the deadline is not usually overwhelmingly significant. So if there are pending UFA wingers or a winger who's got a year left on a deal, I know that, this would be glorious. I don't necessarily expect it to happen, but a guy, if St. Louis falls out, like a guy like, Pavel Buchnevich, to get him out of St. Louis.
Well, yeah, but that's not that. Buchnevich could play in your top 6.
I know, but I'm saying if he shores up, if all of a sudden he's shoring up your top 6 or your top 9 even better, not specific, then I think you might be talking. I don't know that the Jets are targeting.
What about Phil Kessel? We've got the comment up there from Spency. Stanley Cup champion Phil Kessel, maybe?
I don't think so. I think at this point,
Drew, it's a joke. It's
okay.
Clearly a joke.
Okay, but there's a lot of people.
Jets aren't acquiring. They're not acquiring Phil Kessel.
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily a defenseman, Dave. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a winger.
But you're saying because you think Ville Heinola may be that guy that they're counting on. Well, let's find out. Let's find out from someone from the Moose.
Dave, Drew, Ezzy, just want to say congratulations on 15 years of the Illegal Curve. Of all the sports shows out there, you are certainly one of them. But in all seriousness, guys, congratulations again. Really appreciate all the coverage you give the Manitoba Moose. And it's been great watching and listening to the show over the years since I've been in Winnipeg. Again, really appreciate it. Have a great show here today, and here's to another 15 years.
There's my doppelganger, Daniel Fink. He's looking even more handsome than ever, as far as I'm concerned.
You mentioned Ville Heinola. Ville Heinola was skating behind Daniel Fink there yesterday in Milwaukee when he recorded that for us. So, look, I definitely think that Ville Heinola is an option. I think they're going to want to shore the D up still, though. I think that you get someone. Look, Tanev allegedly is a second and a prospect, right? That's the going rate, I think, is what I've heard for Tanev. Well, if you're the Jets and you can get someone like Tanev, I think it's a no-brainer. Personally, I actually think that you're done at that point. I think that you've got the wingers.
Familiar with the True North organization. He's a former Moose, right?
That's right.
I'd be surprised if he doesn't go for a first-round pick, though.
Well, we'll see. If I'm Calgary, I'm waiting, right?
I think you could be right on that one, Drew.
I'm not saying you're wrong, Drew. I'm just saying that if he could be had for a second and a prospect, or a second and a Logan Stanley type, if you will, you never know. But I'm just saying, like, maybe that's where it ends up going. And if you're the Jets and you can get someone like him to shore up that right side, that big, aggressive, like physical, eats pucks for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, Ezzy, I think he's the guy. He's your target. And I think that really completes this team. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm sure you can augment with a winger at the deadline, but I just think a Tanev really puts this team on the as one of the top contenders for a Stanley Cup, because you've shored up your center depth. Now your right side is going to be a strength, then that, and again, defensively, this team has been good.
Yeah.
But I just think he makes them even better.
I just want to say one thing, Drew, quickly, then I'll throw back to you here.
Yeah.
Buchnevich, just worth mentioning. I like Buchnevich. He's a real good player. He's got 20 goals or something this year, right? He's got $5.8 million. He has one more year left. I just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah. So I'm not sure if Chevy,
it would need salary retention, I think, but from St.
Probably.
Louis.
I just wanted to mention that, and I think you'll have to give up. You're not going to get him for just a first-round pick. I think you would agree a prospect. Well, the Jets don't have a first-round pick in 2024, but I think you'd have to agree most likely the Blues would probably be looking for a prospect just to replace Buchnevich. Like, what I'm saying is they've got a year left with his contract, so I don't think he's going to be just traded for a draft pick. Just wanted to mention that. But guys, I just wanted to, the reason why I think there's a good chance Chevy would acquire a depth defenseman is Ville Heinola. I agree with you, Drew. He could be in the Jets lineup very soon. Mm-hmm. I think you have to look further down the lineup. That's what I'm talking about, because you've got Logan Stanley, who right now is your quote unquote 7th or 8th defenseman. You lost Chisholm to the Minnesota Wild. you've got Kyle Capobianco. A lot of people are mentioning Capobianco, Dave. Should mention, you broke the news. Capobianco is going to be an AHL All-Star. Good for him. He's leading the team in scoring, or he's second on the team in scoring, I believe.
Nope, leading. You're right.
So, but my whole thing is, after Capobianco, you don't have a lot. So if there's an injury or two injuries, what I'm saying, Drew, that's why I mentioned a guy like Jordy Ben. Like, that's why I throw out a guy like Zach Bogosian, right? I don't necessarily know that I'm not saying the Jets are going to acquire Bogosian, but I'm saying you're trying to find that type of, like, 32 to 35-year-old defenseman that can play that kind of solid 10 minutes a game, and if there's injuries, you have to plug him on the third pair. I'm not saying that, that's a bigger priority. That's all I'm saying. I'm looking further down the depth chart, because Stanley Cup champions always have 9 or 10 solid defensemen, right?
Right, but if and you're right about that they need to have defensive depth, and you're talking about a guy who, and ideally, if the Jets were to acquire him, he wouldn't actually play for the team.
Exactly.
That's who you're sort of talking about. Because if Heinola comes up, and so then he gets into your top 6, that moves Nate Schmidt down to your 7th defenseman. That moves Logan Stanley down to your 8th defenseman. Then maybe you got Kyle Capobianco as your 9th defenseman. I don't know that you necessarily need that guy that you're talking about, Ezzy. I totally understand your perspective.
Injuries, that's the thing I'm concerned about.
Right,
I mean, there's always injuries. The Jets, we've talked about this. Not one single Jets defenseman aside from Heinola has been injured. Like, they've had remarkably great health. So that's all I'm saying. I'm just saying, that might be something that Chevy does in the next, 4.5 weeks, is bring in a depth defenseman who can be your kind of 8th or 9th defenseman. Like, a guy, I don't know, like Radko Gudas. I don't think Radko Gudas is going to be traded.
He's got a big ticket. Radko Gudas has a big ticket. He got
Sure,
signed
but somebody
for a big
like
money
that,
years.
right? Like a veteran defensive defenseman that has 1 year left on his contract, something like that.
Well, I don't know if there's any. Do you think there's anybody from Philly that the Jets could target? Or maybe someone from Philly right now.
Hey, Legal Curve guys, this is Frank Saravalli coming to you from All-Star Weekend in Toronto. Just wanted to send a quick note to say congratulations on 15 years of the Illegal Curve show. 15 years ago, I mean, where did the time go? I was much skinnier, had brown hair, and I was a young guy just starting out covering the NHL in 2009. You guys had me on your show. You took me in as one of your own when I was in Winnipeg, made me feel like I was at home, and since then, so glad to play a very small role in joining you guys on the Illegal Curve. Congratulations on all your success. Wish you another 15 years. Take care.
Wow.
That's great. And Frank's been a good friend of the show for a long time. What Frank doesn't remember, because it might have been a blur to him, is that we were with him when he found out he was going to be a daddy for the first time.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, as don't you remember?
That was like 2013 or something.
I couldn't remember the year, but we were all out after a Jets Flyers game, and he came back to the table and broke that news, and all of a sudden the
Hermanos. It was Hermanos.
Yeah. And Drew, now Frank's a grandfather. So
no.
Well, and one of the great things about being on this medium, and everybody knows this, of course, is that back in the day, we would only, when we were a TSN entity, we could only have TSN affiliated folks. So obviously we couldn't have people from CJOB on. We couldn't have people from Sportsnet on. Now we have no such limitations.
We couldn't have Kenny on.
Dave. We couldn't have Kenny, and we couldn't have this guy on, which we can now.
Hey, it's Kelly Moore from 680 CJOB. I just want to offer congratulations to Drew, Ezra, and Dave for 15 years on the Illegal Curve. In this day and age, it's hard to keep a show going for 15 months. And yes, these guys do make the Winnipeg Jets their focal point. That's completely understood in this market. But there's also great coverage of the Moose and everything else that's going on hockey-wise in this province. Once again, congratulations, guys, on a great 15 years and many, many more.
Oh, man. Dave, thanks, Kelly. Kelly's such a beauty. What a great guy.
I'm just amazed that how Dave had time to do anything else this week besides that the All-Star break and the bye week coincided with this, because otherwise Dave would have had no chance of being able to pull this all off.
There better be a video of Michael Bublé microdosing on mushrooms coming up, Dave.
Oh, it's coming up in the second hour.
High on mushrooms thanking us.
Although this one's not coming. This one's actually coming from out east, if you will.
Dave, Drew, Ezzy, congratulations on 15 years of the Illegal Curve. You started your radio show well before the NHL returned to Winnipeg, And it's amazing to see how you've developed and grown your program to now include Jets post-game shows, daily Jets, NHL, and Manitoba Moose coverage on all of your numerous social media platforms. You know, I remember the first time I met all of you in person, which was at the 2011 NHL Draft, and I think it may have been Ezzy who remarked about feeling that perhaps you didn't feel that you belonged to be there that weekend in St. Paul. I also remember responding that, oh, you very much did belong. You've been providing a great service to all Jets fans, not only in Manitoba, but worldwide. And here's to many more years of the Illegal Curve. Congratulations.
There's our great friend Joe
man.
Piscucci. That's a great.
Oh,
That's
man.
great. It's just,
I mean, they just keep coming. I don't even have time to absorb what's happening here. Thank you so much to Joe Piscucci. He's joined us 3 times this year on the post-game show. Thank you so much for that, Smokin' Joe.
let me just play one last. So it's been a lot of fun. We've had our shenanigans over the years, but we've also broken some news and had some really interesting interviews every now and then. Before we go to break, and we'll bring in Scott Arniel on the other side, here's NHL Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show back November 27th, 2010.
It's proven to be a very difficult market. Having said that, I mean, certainly when the Thrashers, and I again point back to early success here, you know, when the Thrashers were granted their franchise and expansion, they were under common ownership, and Ted Turner was one of the owners. Common ownership with the Hawks and the brand new building there at Phillips Arena. And they basically were using the Thrashers to sell tickets for the Hawks. So when packaged together, I mean, there is an interest for hockey in that marketplace. Again, it might be a situation where the building location isn't ideal in that market, and if it was built a little bit in a different location, again, within the Atlanta metropolitan area, might be drawing better. But those are all issues that are important issues, and obviously the building's not moving. So we're going to have to look at the long-term prospects of that franchise, and if a determination is made it can't make it there or can't be successful there, then something will have to be done.
If an NHL team does have to move, would you consider Winnipeg an NHL-ready market today?
I think we'd have to make the judgment at the time, but certainly we believe that Winnipeg can be an NHL-ready market. Certainly the fact that the new building in Winnipeg changes the economics a lot. Our new labor agreement changes the economics a lot from when the Jets left Winnipeg 15 years ago. And quite frankly, the value of the Canadian dollar changes the equation a little bit. So all those factors put together, we believe that Winnipeg can support an NHL franchise. Yes, we do.
There's Deputy Commissioner Bill
Wow.
Daly. That was the first sign that the return of the Jets was definitely on the NHL's radar.
And Drew, 14 years later, the NHL might come back to Atlanta. Right?
It's come full circle. It certainly has. Winnipeg Jets associate head coach Scott Arniel, up next on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, celebrating 15 years on this Saturday morning. Hour number 2 of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show starts now, celebrating 15 years of this fine program. We're thrilled to welcome to the show the associate coach of the Winnipeg Jets, Scott Arniel, joins us. Scott, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. How are things in your world?
Hey, fellas. My world's all right now. I just got out of watching my granddaughter in dance class, so now I get to move on to some bigger things,
There's nothing more important than watching the youngins doing their thing. There's no question about that. Scott, we appreciate you joining us this morning. I guess we'll start with the news from yesterday. So, we know that, Chevy obviously acquires and the Jets acquire Sean Monahan. As the associate coach, sort of, how do you find out about that? And then sort of walk us through the emotions of finding out that your team has acquired a new asset that you can start using effectively with practice tomorrow.
Yeah. What? We probably started talking a couple of weeks ago with Chevy, Zinger, Larry, obviously coaching staff, kind of who was sort of the balls that might be in play. Some of the players, obviously, it was Lindholm, it was Monahan, Henrique, those kind of names. Obviously defensemen are out there, and then it really came down. It kind of got really moving here once we finished our last game against Toronto. A little bit of an arms race out west. I think that everybody's kind of looking at a lot of the same pieces, and Chevy just went to work, and obviously we got that done, and thrill for us. We all he talked to us all about what we thought about it, and obviously for us it was a piece that was missing from our roster, and we just felt it was a great move for us.
So when you acquire that piece, or a piece in general, what do you do as the associate coach? So, do you sit down with the rest of the coaching staff and start brainstorming how you're going to, employ this new piece? Or, do you sit there and say, how is he going to fit? Sort of just generally, when a new player is acquired by a team, what is your role, after that occurs?
Yeah, you know what? The first thing I did, actually, I reached out to Sean yesterday and talked to him, and told him how thrilled we were to be getting him, and how excited he actually is too to come. He's looking for be a big part of a playoff push. So that would be the first thing. The second part is for us, we've talked about it here in the last week and a half about line mates. How we use them. Obviously, he's a guy that can power play, penalty kill. We can use him in a lot of areas. We talked about maybe partners. What unit he might be with. Different things like that. So really, tomorrow we'll skate tomorrow after 2:00, and he'll be in town for that. So we'll kind of let him. He'll be pretty nervous, I'm sure, and excited, and we'll just kind of let him sort of flow into things. We got another good practice on Monday before we head to Pittsburgh. So,
Scott, we wanted to ask you about back in late October, of course, when you had to take over as head coach of the Jets. When Judy was sick and Rick had to step away from the team, and then obviously Rick came back. I believe your record was 9-2-2 as head coach of the Jets. So I would say that's pretty damn good. I think most Jets fans would agree with that. But just what was that like for you? Obviously, you probably, I imagine, didn't think twice about it, stepping in as the head coach. But just what was that period like for the team? Because obviously there was a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, this year was a little bit different than last year. Rick had kind of was out for a game here and a game there, and it was a little bit different in the sense that you knew he was going to be back, whether it was the next game or the next day. This was a little bit different. There was some uncertainty to this, and so it was really a little bit different. In the end of the day, it was great to get back in and kind of be the head guy and all that, but at the end of the day, this is still Rick's team, and it was going to be, and we knew that hopefully prayed and hoped that everything was going to go well with Judy, and it did. And we weren't sure if that was going to be 2 weeks, 2 months. We didn't know how long it was going to last. So we had, obviously the players were outstanding. They were so professional. They cared so much. They wanted to make sure that they didn't let Rick down. And, amongst us all, Lauer, Marty Johnson, we all kind of had our work to do, and, we got it done, and we kept that sort of the ship afloat while the Rick was away.
Scott, you've got a long history here in Winnipeg. Second round pick of the Jets back in 1981. A player, of course, with the Jets for, I think, 4.5 seasons. Then you came back, played for the Moose. Then you were a coach for the Moose. So what's it like being here in the city for this long? And what have you noticed the second time around that you didn't maybe appreciate the first time?
You know what? Yeah, this is my second home. Actually, it's funny because I've been away from Kingston so long. When people, first time I meet them, you're from Winnipeg, aren't you? And then it's kind of a sort of a running joke with my family, but at the end of the day, I've spent most of my life in Winnipeg. My wife is from here. It's just a scenario where, I kind of, with the coaching sort of carousel that kind of goes on in our business, I got an opportunity to go to some other teams to get some experience. Got it with the Rangers, got it with Washington, got it in Buffalo. So it was, everything kind of played itself out perfect last year when I got the opportunity to come back here. My kids are here, my are close by anyways. My grandkids are close. Everything kind of fell into place. And so for me, it was just, coming back, obviously, the first years of being a player, being the old Jets, was the old building, great memories there. Now this is a whole new chapter, and, it's obviously, the game's changed a ton, and it's just, it's great to be back. And, I can see the whiteout last year for me was special, because of the very first time it happened when we were playing Calgary, and so many memories ago, and it was awesome to see, and just wish we had gone, a few more rounds to continue to see that. But that was probably the biggest thing, just for seeing that again, kind of getting those juices flowing.
Scott Arniel is our guest on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. You know, Scott, of course, is the Winnipeg Jets associate coach. Over your years as an assistant coach or an associate coach, how has the role changed? I mean, obviously, I think your interactions with the players and how you approach that has probably changed over the last 10, 15 years. But, personally, how have you adapted over that time frame?
You know what? I think the biggest thing is when I started with a grumpy old guy, Randy Carlisle, and there was that kind of, like what you said was what had to be done, and there was a lot more barking and a lot more, kind of do it this way. I think the biggest thing that I've learned over the last, I don't know how many years now I'm at this, 15, 16 years, the biggest thing for me is having to figure out your players, how they tick, building relationships with them, getting the most out of them, kind of sort of some give and take, and building. The biggest thing is the relationship. It's so much different now that you have to have these guys believing in what you're saying. You have to get them believing in how you're kind of approaching things, why you're doing things. They want to be a part of everything. They really do. They want to have a say in kind of how things go about on the ice, system, line mates, all those things. Obviously, you got to how much you allow them to get away with. But at the end of the day, you do want to listen to their input, because they feel when they have the input, you're getting the best out of those players.
When you were a player, Scott, did you have any input at all, or did you just sort of coach said
No
what
chance.
you did and you went and did it?
No chance. I had John Ferguson. I mean, it was just like, be here, be there, do this, do that. And that's where the game's evolved. Now it's it's certainly the players are a big part of what's kind of going on now. Hey, we just watched the skills competition there. That was a good move by McDavid. He made all the rules and then he won the thing, so it worked out perfect. So, but no, it's what, the game has changed so much. These players are such a big part of it. That's in all major sports now. The players sell. The players are the guys that the people are coming to watch, and they're the ones that obviously are driven to to win championships. And you gotta have that cohesive working together. Making them feel special, be a part of it as well. I mean, certainly every professional athlete, especially hockey guys, our Winnipeg Jet guys, they know when we mean business, when there's things that we're maybe either ticked off about or where we have to improve. They get back to business and they recognize it, and they do a great job of doing it.
Scott, you obviously just mentioned the All-Star game, so we got to ask you about that. Of course, not only are Kyle Connor and Connor Hellebuck at the All-Star game, but Rick Bowness is at the All-Star game, and obviously, Rick better than anybody. He's a very humble guy, and when it was announced that he was going to be the head coach, I thought it was so impressive that he basically deflected it away from him and said, like, this is about the team. This is about, you and Marty Johnston and Brad Lauer. But, I wanted to ask you just like, how special it is for you to see Rick get that opportunity to be the head coach at this year's All-Star game in Toronto.
Yeah, it's special. I mean, one of the thrills that we had a team meeting before a video session, and Rick had no idea just before it was going to be announced, and I got to tell the players and Rick in front of everybody together that he was going to the All-Star game. And so he was pretty humble then too. He's been around the game for such a long time, and this is his first chance. It's kind of, it's ironic that this is his first opportunity. He's got the most games on an NHL bench. And I kind of laughed. The other thing we had to tell him, we kind of, Marty Johnson and Lau had to help us with it. But anyways, we had to make sure he knew who all the celebrities were. He knew who Michael Bublé was, but everybody else, he had to make sure that he did his homework in case he ran.
What about Tate McRae, Scott? Did Rick know who Tate McRae was?
No chance, not a chance. So he had to get filled in. I know his kids had to help him out too. He didn't want to, end up running into somebody and not knowing that. That's she's on your team. So be careful.
Scott, I have to ask you about Adam Lowry. What have you noticed? Obviously we've followed his career since he was drafted by the Jets, but how have you noticed how he's changed, or maybe how he hasn't changed now that he's wearing the C?
Wow, you know what? The thing I really didn't know, obviously, just coaching against Lau over the last few years, such a caring person, both on and off the ice. really cares about his teammates. I know he does a lot of charities and whatnot. The biggest thing is when you throw a captain on the C on players, sometimes they think they have to be the captain for everybody, and he has to do everything for everybody else. And the one thing that he's done a fantastic job of is make sure that he's played his game first and foremost, and that's been awesome. He's been right up there as one of our best players all year long. And then his leadership, just the way he talks, not only us as a coaching staff, the respect, also how he talks to his teammates, just to see him evolve. I know somebody said way back, one day he's going to be the captain of your team. And without a doubt, he's taken on this role, and that's been a big part of our success.
Scott, 35 games to go, starting tomorrow with practice, where everybody's back from the bye week and the All-Star break. And we know, and it's been talked about, that the game gets harder to play over the last final 35 games. As the associate coach for the Jets, what do you and the rest of the coaching staff have to do in order to sort of make sure the players are dialed in for the final 35 regular season games, and then for a lengthy playoff run Jets fans hope for, of course?
Yeah, well, we obviously have a kind of a memory from last year that, this exact same time where it kind of went the wrong way on us. And it's, we have lots of guys in the room that lived through that. So first of all, we have that we can kind of not use, but also just be reminded of. But at the end of the day, it's every game, recognize the opposition. Everybody, when you're sitting near the top of the standings, you're getting the best of everybody else, and there's not a whole lot of easy nights. And we're going to have some races here coming down the line here, especially in our division with Dallas and with Colorado. So it's going to be every game is going to be so important. But I think that the lesson from last year is still kind of bitter taste in everybody's mouth, and we want to make sure that we continue to do what we're doing. And it's not turning something on, turning something off, and doing something different that we did in the first half. We have said right from the start of training camp that that defending and playing strong, solid defense was going to be the sort of the thing that helped us when it came to the second half of the year, when it came to playoffs. That's what wins. And we've been doing a really good job of that. It doesn't mean we take away from our offense. It doesn't mean we take away from scoring. But when we play like we have been without the puck, that's sort of the recipe that we've been building towards the playoffs. And hopefully for the next 35, that's what we continue to do.
I bet it'll be nice to get the full roster together for the first time since the second game of the season.
Yeah, that'll be nice. Obviously, get Sean in there, kind of get our looks. Like our depth now, whether I don't know, we haven't 100% decided, but our fourth line could be like Vladdy with Iafallo and Barron and Kupari. Like all our looks now are a whole lot different now that Sean's in here. We obviously getting Lowry back to his line that was been so good for us with Nino and with Apple. Those three guys, they were dominant for the first half of the year, so we had to move Lau kind of out of that because of the Scheifele injury. This is exciting now. We get some real good looks coming down. Having our full lineup together.
Scott Arniel, Winnipeg Jets associate coach. I hope as grandpa you get to go spoil your granddaughter now. We'll let you get back to that. Thanks so much for joining us this morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We'll see you at the rink, I guess tomorrow. We're back at it.
All right. Well, thanks, fellas. Great talking to you guys.
Take care, Scott. Thanks very much for joining us. There he goes, Scott Arniel, joining us this morning. Great interview with the Winnipeg Jets associate coach. Really just a well-spoken guy, as we all know, gentlemen, and just great to hear sort of his insights into the acquisition of Sean Monahan and then where this Winnipeg Jets team and roster will go from here for the final 35 games.
Yeah, and Drew, I'm not sure if you were thinking this, but like when Scott Arniel starts talking about the line combinations, I mean, you can only imagine how excited Jets fans are getting. It's one thing for us putzes, to be talking about Jets forward combinations, but when Scott Arniel starts talking about, Vlad Nemesnikov, Alex Iafallo, and Morgan Barron on the fourth line, I think, you just heard thousands of Jets fans across the world get very excited, right? So
you can sort of see the smile cross Scott's face when we when we're talking about finally getting everybody back together and all the different machinations that can come from having that depth.
And guys, we could have that conversation whether the Jets center depth is as good or better than 2018. I think you could, make an argument that 2018 was stronger. But when you can go Scheifele, Monahan, Lowry, and Nemesnikov up the middle, plus you also have the option of having Rasmus Kupari or Gus Bus, Dave.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty damn good center depth, if you ask me.
No, I agree. And you know what? It's funny because you could clearly see that wherever Scott was, I'm assuming maybe in Winnipeg or somewhere, he wasn't somewhere warm, but he's raring to go. Some folks, Ezzy, right now, they are in places of warm, and they want to send a shout out and love to Illegal Curve from the warm.
Good morning from Mexico to the Curves. Just wanted to wish you a happy anniversary, boys. Keep doing what you love and loving what you do. Cheers.
Short and sweet.
Kenny.
But hold on, he was not the only one in Mexico. There's another one.
Was Kenny golfing there?
He was not. Well, he might have been golfing later that day. But there's someone else from Mexico who wants to send some love.
Hola, amigos from sunny Mexico. Congratulations on 15 great years of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Saturday mornings wouldn't be the same without you. Thanks so much for making me a friend of the show over the years. Cheers.
The funniest thing is I asked Ted to come on the show last weekend, not knowing that he was in Mexico. And then I texted Kenny on Wednesday to see if he can come on the show because I didn't know if he was still in Mexico. I mean, are these guys ever coming back?
Hold on. There's one more guy in Mexico.
Hello, gents. It's Rennie here, taking a break from vacation to give you guys a shout out. And, you know, if I'm being honest here, 15 years of Illegal Curve. I think I lost a bet early on suggesting that you guys wouldn't make it 15 days on the scene. But 15 years later, here you guys are. And not only have you made something of yourselves in life, which was a long shot, to be honest, at the beginning, but you've become an integral part of the Winnipeg sports scene and trailblazers by your own right. So congratulations, guys, for 15 years. Here's to 15 more.
Okay, hold on. Was that Sean Reynolds or Ryan Gosling?
It was someone handsome.
That was Rennie going
wow.
enjoying the nice warm weather.
Sounded like he was having some libations, I think.
That's great. Big thanks to Kenny, big thanks to Rennie, big thanks to Ted Wyman of the Winnipeg Sun there joining us on the show to pay their tributes to us. Very, very considerate of everybody who's joined us so far on the show. And of course, we still have more classic clips and more. I think Dave has arranged for more videos to be aired throughout.
I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to fit it all in, boys. Like that's the problem.
Well,
you know,
guys,
what I mean,
let's also not forget about Bobby Holik, former New Jersey Devil, one of my favorite players of all time, two-time Stanley Cup champion. Bobby Holik's going to join us live from his home in Wyoming in about 10 minutes.
Joining us from his home in Winnipeg.
15 years of Illegal Curve. Wow. Dave, Drew, Ezzy, congratulations, guys. Listen, one of the best things about our time at 1290 was getting to know individuals such as yourselves, starting great long-term friendships, and obviously being able to work with you guys. I think of Ezzy, you and I sitting in that draft room in Chicago like prisoners for 7 hours at one time, the trips we've had, and obviously all the great times at the arena. But it all comes back to Saturday morning, talking hockey and doing what we all love to do, BS about the Jets, the latest news in the National Hockey League, and have a lot of fun. And the fun continues with you all. 15 years in, it is an incredible accomplishment, and just happy to have crossed paths with you guys and been able to enjoy the show. All the best, fellas, from myself and the whole gang here at Winnipeg Sports Talk.
The stories, and Ezzy, you can share, the ones you can share of you and Huss at that draft in Chicago. What
about the draft in Philly?
No. It was the draft in
Philly was fun for all of us.
New York, or it was actually in Newark. Remember, we stayed in New York. I forget, Drew. I don't think you were at that draft.
No, it's just you, me, and Rich.
Yeah,
that's the Snazzy. That's the classic clip snoring one.
Oh, yeah. Well, in 2013, Huss and I, after the draft, we decided to party it up in Brooklyn, and we didn't get home, I think, or back to the hotel till like 3 a.m. We definitely are not going to talk about that one on air. But I think what Drew's referring to is in 2017, I'll tell this story really quick, and then I know you want to touch on the Olympics, right, Drew? Or maybe we're going to get back to the Monahan trade. I'm not sure. We have a lot to talk about. We haven't even talked about Todd McClellan being fired yesterday. I mean, everything was happening yesterday at around like 11:30 in the morning. I was like, there's too much happening. But long story short,
Coach Killer Dubois strikes again.
Yeah, exactly. Cost Todd McClellan his job. I mean, obviously, it's not just Dubois, but he had a big part in it. 2017 is when Sportsnet took over the national TV rights. Right. And so what ended up happening is Dave was actually supposed to come to the draft because we went to the previous I think 3 or 4 drafts together, starting in 2013, because we didn't go to Pittsburgh in 2012. But long story short, which I'm not doing a good job of making short, we broadcasted the show with Adam Toy from a hotel room in Chicago because we weren't allowed. We thought we couldn't be allowed in United Center. But then it turned out all the other TSN radio stations like Matthew Sakaris and TSN 1040 back then, TSN 1050 Toronto, TSN 690 Montreal. I remember Sergio Momesso was there. Dan Robertson most likely was there. But Huss and I and Adam Toy basically broadcasted the show from a silent hotel room while Paulie Edmonds was at United Center cutting in like once every 30 minutes. So that was the year that the Jets drafted Christian Vesalainen in the first round, but who they drafted in the second round? Dylan Sandberg. So it turned out to be a pretty good draft for the Jets. But yes, I also remember, I don't know if I should mention this, Huss hacking butts in the bathroom.
That's exactly where I hope it's at.
Because he didn't, I was smoking back then too, by the way. I've quit, or maybe I quit by then. Did I have a kid by then? Yeah, I think I quit by then. But Huss was smoking cigarettes in the bathroom. I remember that because he didn't want to go outside because it was like a 5-minute walk to go outside. But awesome for Huss for sending us that video.
Well, and so speaking of drafts, and this is the last year of the draft where everybody's going, and where is it going to be? It's going to be in Vegas. So speaking of Vegas.
Congratulations to the Illegal Curve on 15 years. Wow. I remember when Drew had hair. I remember when Remus hadn't quite reached puberty and was on the off. I remember when Ezra couldn't get a date. Now he's married. I'm not going to say anything bad about David. I love him. I love you all. Congratulations. It's a remarkable run. It's a great show. I still love to listen when I get a chance. Here's to 15 more.
The Lawman.
Lawman. When Ezzy dressed up as Gary Lawless for Halloween was also a classic moment.
The best.
Well, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this. The first time I ever met the Lawman, I was a pizza delivery driver at Mona Lisa. I was probably 21 years old at the time. And Gary was a regular at Mona Lisa. It was raining one night, and he asked me to go buy him a pack of cigarettes. I'm not sure why cigarettes have become a common theme here, because I don't think Huss smoke. Well, Huss might vape now, but Gary asked me. He gave me like $10, which tells you how long ago that was, because I think a pack of cigarettes now is like $45. But Lawless gave me $10. And I went across the street and bought him a pack of cigarettes because he didn't want to get wet because he was wearing a nice suit. I think back in the day, at that time, Dave, he was covering the Moose. Because people forget, Lawless used to cover the Moose and the Gold.
Yeah.
Right? So anyways, that's awesome that Gary sent that in.
There you go. That's you walk across to the Max, I presume, on Cordon Avenue to get a
Circle K now,
by the way. I know it's a Circle K now. It was a Max back in the day. It's been a lot of fun reminiscing, going down memory lane on this Saturday morning edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, celebrating 15 years. Let's go to break, our final break on the show. When we come back, Bobby Holik, 2-time Stanley Cup champion, is set to join us. We have more clips. We have more classic audio. We got more nonsense, as you've come to expect over the last 15 years. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, we're all with you on this Saturday morning celebrating 15 years.
Keeping Winnipeg laughing for over 30 years. Rumors, Canada's longest running comedy club, bringing you the biggest laughs from the best comedians on the planet. Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the greats, and all the up-and-comers too. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party. Even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Hey, Drew.
Ezzy, whoa, what a smile!
Yeah, I got my crowns done at Linden Market Dental Center, and they whitened my teeth.
I see.
They're so bright that every time I smile, they go...
We have hockey tonight. Do you have a mouth guard to protect those pearly whites?
I sure do.
Whoa, they even ting through the mouth guard.
Linden Market Dental Center covers all your dental needs, from restorative to cosmetic dentistry, and will fit you with a sports guard for that active lifestyle. 877 Waverly. See lindenmarketdental.com.
This Valentine's Day, heart-shaped pizzas are back at Boston Pizza. On February 14th, share your favorite delicious Boston Pizza with the ones you love. Your locally owned Boston Pizza will donate $1 from every heart-shaped pizza sold to the Travis Price Children's Heart Center and the Children's Hospital Foundation of Manitoba. To order, call 925-4111. This Valentine's, share the love with a heart-shaped pizza from Boston Pizza.
We did it again!
You're on fire, man.
There's power in a handshake. After a great game or great deal, it shows professionalism and respect. Two qualities Zappia Group Realty take pride in. You don't build a business where 95% of your clients are referred by others without honesty, integrity, and total dedication to client satisfaction. To sell your home for more in less time, shake hands with Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Get started at ZappiaGroup.com.
Bottom of hour number 2. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you on this Saturday morning. We're celebrating 15 years of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, and we are pleased to welcome to the program two-time Stanley Cup champion, legendary player for the New Jersey Devils, among other teams, including the Rangers and the Atlanta Thrashers. Bobby Holik joins us on the show. Bobby, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. How are things?
It's my pleasure. Good morning to you. Things are great.
That's great. Why Wyoming? That's where, as you said, you now reside. I have to ask, why Wyoming?
It's been our home for 30 years. I mean, during my career, obviously, we just came up for the summer or part-time. My wife came up part-time during those seasons when we were on the road. But we came out here the first time in 1994, and about 10 days later, bought our first home here, and we've been here ever since.
The proverbial love at first sight with the state of Wyoming.
Oh, absolutely. And it's the love gets better and better, or stronger and stronger as the time goes on. It's a perfect place for us.
That's terrific. We appreciate you joining us this morning, Bobby. Obviously, I forgot to mention your Hartford days as well. That's, of course, where you broke into the NHL back in 90-91. I guess I would ask you, with the game nowadays, sort of, are you in tune with the game still, or do you sort of maybe take a big step back and really just enjoy it more as a casual fan than anything else?
I was, after I retired, I dabbled in hockey media. I had my own website, but what I really wanted to do, I realized a couple of years in that I really wanted to work with youth. So for about 12 years after that, I volunteered and I worked very hard, and I think I cared almost too much. And it just kind of volunteering gets to you eventually. So I'm just on a break from youth sports or youth hockey in general. And every so often I check in with the NHL, watch possibly, or with a friend, go watch his favorite team, but not involved enough or not following it close enough to really make comments or be a so-called expert.
Bobby, you mentioned you were coaching youth hockey. You're also coaching the Israeli national team, and obviously we're not going to get into the politics. We want to stick to hockey here. I saw the article about Larry Brooks. You were a very outspoken advocate of Israel, which is awesome. We appreciate that. But again, we're not going to get into the political side of it. We wanted to ask you what that was like. Like, how did that come about? I've only been to Israel once on the birthright trip, but I was in Metula at that hockey arena. And it's incredible because obviously not a lot of people, think of hockey when they think of, the Middle East. So what was that experience like for you, coaching the Israeli national team?
Oh, I've always wanted to go to Israel. I've been not because of hockey, but I love history. History is my kind of a hobby or passion. So ever since I was a young kid and I learned about Israel and the situation in the Middle East, and I followed it closely, then being in the States. And then Stan Fischler, as everybody knows, Hockey Hall of Fame journalist and reporter, he presented me with the opportunity about 7-8 years ago to go do hockey school there. So I did a hockey school for one summer. Then I did it I went back again. I had a great time. It was absolutely amazing working with the youth there, meeting people, spending time, getting to sightsee the Holy Land. It's just amazing experience. And then they asked me, after 2 really good summers of teaching in hockey camps, they asked me to coach their national teams. Again, this is all volunteering, so I had to kind of think about whether I can fit it in my schedule, but I really didn't have to because it was a huge honor. I immediately accepted that role, and I coached their U18, U20s, and the men's national team in a few World Championship tournaments. And obviously, hockey fans know that they play in a different division than the top countries in the world, but that doesn't make that doesn't take away from their commitment and from their determination to represent their country the best they can. And I really enjoyed traveling with the teams and with helping them represent the country that's obviously, as we all know, under a lot of, I think, under probably a more sensitive or kind of scrutiny, than they should be, because it's not fair. But as I promise you, no politics, but the experience coaching those teams was amazing, because these kids, some of them were 16 years old, 17, 18. Some of them those were their last tournaments before they had to enlist in the mandatory military service and serve their country, as we see now on the news every day. And they're really proud people. And to me, as I said, maybe it wasn't the highest level, but it was the most highest, and that's a bad grammar, the best experience, one of the top experiences in hockey that I've ever had.
Well, Bobby, that's significant. But I want to ask you about one of your countrymen, because you were drafted in 1989. He was drafted in 1990. You retired 15 years ago, which is appropriate because this is the 15th anniversary of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show today. But what do you think of when you think of Jaromir Jagr still playing professional hockey all of these years later?
Well, first of all, it's a little easier to play for the team that you own, because you can put yourself in the lineup as you please. But that doesn't take away from him staying in the shape that he's actually competitive, or he can keep up with the guys who are half his age, and most of them are. So it's amazing. Jaromir was always top condition athlete. He always took care of himself. He was always a great professional, prepared to play and win, or to do everything that he can to help the team win. But it's a huge accomplishment to do that, to be able to actually skate, with equipment on and get him bumped. And I'm sure in practice it's different. There's a lot of respect, but in the game, the other teams want to win as well. And if they can bump him or strip him off the puck, rub him against the boards, they're not going to hold back, because ultimately they're there to win and not necessarily to pay respects to a great legend. But you look back 35 years, I've known him, so about 35, maybe almost 40 years. And we played against each other as kids and played together as 14, 15-year-olds on U16, U17s. He was always, you knew he was special. The day, I remember seeing him first time, and everybody's like, hey, that's, and he had these plastic boots. This is early to mid-'80s, so you can only imagine, with the black blades and all that stuff. But the way he skated, this just doesn't happen. Even us who were his peers, we like, this is not normal. But every time we played against him, whether it was in the Czechoslovakia on the Bantam or youth level or midget level, it was the same thing as playing the Devils against the Pittsburgh Penguins in conference finals or whatever. Same approach. Otherwise, we're not going to get where we get. And so I've known Jaromir that he was a special kind of hockey player for a long time. So this doesn't surprise me. And he loves the game, and being in a situation that he's in allows him to play as he can.
Bobby, I have to ask you, you had so much success with New Jersey in their heyday, 2-time Stanley Cup champion. You're playing with, for Lou Lamoriello. It was one of the preeminent franchises, when you were there. Then you go to New York and you spend a couple years in New York. And of course, the Rangers, Madison Square Garden, Original Six. And then you go to Atlanta and you play with the Thrashers. What was the difference in organization like between the Devils and the Rangers and then the Thrashers?
So I started Hartford, and that was, I'm going to throw it in there just if we're going to sort of recap the experiences in different teams. And Hartford was good because it was a small market, small city. I came from Eastern Europe, fresh fresh face, 19-year-old. It was an easier transition than going to Toronto or Montreal or one of the big market teams. Okay, so that was phenomenal. The most phenomenal things, I met my wife there. So, and 33 years later, good things are still going on. So that was, hockey is part of it, but there's also life. So we got traded to New Jersey, and the opportunities were phenomenal. There was playing for a big time team, championship contending team, but being fairly anonymous in North Jersey. There's a lot of celebrities, a lot of wealthy people, a lot of athletes living in North Jersey. So we had to do is play hockey. And Lou Lamoriello, who was the greatest boss that I ever had, will provide us with those opportunities. Like, hey, don't worry about anything else but playing your best or working your hardest in practice. And that's what we did. So the results took care of themselves. Rangers was a different. I knew what I was going into, but as a first-time free agent after 12 years and almost 1,000 games, you're like, it's a different time than the opportunities, financial opportunities players have today. So I had to maximize that at the time, and it was definitely exactly what I expected, but I was hoping for the better. I think the timing was wrong, the contract was right, and so after kind of a mutual agreement or getting waived or bought out, whatever you want to call it, I moved on to Atlanta. And again, you said it, Madison Square Garden, Original Six. I think the Rangers, with the Rangers across the royal blue jerseys are still the nicest jersey that I've ever worn. I still have one at home. And then, so even though we had poor results, we underachieved. It was a great experience. And then, you mid-30s, and then you have family and kid, and you're like, you're trying to find a better situation than maybe New York City metropolitan area. There was an opportunity to go back to New Jersey, but I just needed a fresh start, and Atlanta provided it. And unfortunately, again, underachieved because I believe the ownership group couldn't agree on anything since day one. So the players, the staff, the coaches, everybody tried their hardest, but it just was not going to work out. And I always say Atlanta was a hockey town. We just didn't give it a proper chance. And, after that, one more year in New Jersey, which was great, going back to familiar place, playing with players I played before. And then you called it a career because eventually you gotta just walk away. And I literally could walk away. So that was a great opportunity for me to walk away on my own terms.
Bobby, I want to ask you about something a Hockey Hall of Famer said about you. Back in 2020, Eric Lindros was taking questions on Twitter. Obviously, Lindros, one of the best power forwards, I think, of all time. Yourself, you were also a power forward for the Devils, the Rangers, the Whalers, and the Thrashers. Eric Lindros was asked, who was the hardest player he ever played against? He said you.
Well, I think I got his number, and I texted him to thank him for the compliment, because I took it as a huge compliment, because Eric was an amazing player. He absolutely dominated physically and skill-wise in the 90s. Once he got to Philadelphia after his, draft issues and sort. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for Rick, and I got to play with him in New York, and he got a fairly bad treatment ultimately in Philadelphia. And he's a good guy. He wants to win, but things just didn't work out for him the way everybody wanted. But what he said is probably one of the greatest compliments I've ever gotten, because I just wanted to compete, and when it was hard to play against, I just wanted to help the team win. And my goals were never, if I get these statistics, I'll be happy, or if I get this. I said, no, I'm going to go out there, work my hardest, and try to help the team win. I did it most of the times, but we're not perfect, so sometimes you fail, and you just kind of get up next morning and try to do it again. But no, that was, again, to kind of answer the very short question with very long answer. It was amazingly humbling to hear it from a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely. Well, I think I speak for Drew and Dave when I say you deserve it. Over 1,300 career games, 2-time Stanley Cup champion. I mean, I was talking to you on the phone earlier this week, and I was like, I got to tell Bobby that I'm a huge Devils fan, and he's one of my favorite players of all time. I just have to tell you that it's true. I wanted to ask you, who was the hardest player for you to play against when you played in the NHL?
I get to ask that questions often from hockey fans or friends who are hockey fans. And I always say this, I love the challenge. So it's never bigger the players or better the players, more fun it was for me. The best brings out the best out of you if you truly embrace the challenge. So there's some players who were more challenging than others, but I would never say the toughest because I wanted the toughest. I played in New Jersey for 2-3 years on the fourth line. We probably were the best fourth line in hockey. We won the cup as the crash line with Mike Peluso and Randy McKay, who are I at one time on my own website I called them unconditional teammates. And so to me, tougher the challenge, tougher the player, whether it was physically tougher or tougher to defend or to try to prevent from overtaking the game, the better it was. But, you look at Joe Sakic's quick release and then Gretzky's vision of the ice and Mario Lemieux long reach and Mans Sundin competitiveness and just determination. One player after another, there was huge challenges to play against these top or the Hall of Fame. I think they're all Hall of Famers. So I embraced that challenge and I actually asked after about 3 years on the crash line, I asked for more challenge, more responsibility. And Devils gave it to me, and I think that's where truly I came to my own. The two-way center that my dad was helping to create or coach, and I believe inside of myself that that's the type of player I am, the two-way player who can compete with anybody in the world. And I believe I proved it to people who gave me the opportunities.
So, Bobby, obviously it was nice to have Scott Stevens on your team for all those years, not having to worry about him coming across the middle of the ice and trying to take your head off, right?
Well, that's another story that everybody's talking about. And I'll tell you what, I did not worry about him coming across the ice, even when we didn't play together. So one of my first game in St. Louis, when I think he just signed as a free agent, 91, maybe it was a second game in St. Louis with Hartford. And the veteran is like, hey, watch out for that Stevens. He come across the blue line and he hits hard. And I'm like, okay, how hard can he hit? I'm 19, 20 years old. I hit pretty hard myself, and I can take a hit. So I come across the blue line, and I kind of have my head up, but not quite. And I see him kind of in the distance. I see something coming really fast in a white jersey. At the time, the home team still wore a white jersey. I'm like, I don't know if it's censored or not here, but I was like, oh my, this is something that somebody's coming. So I just brace myself. I held onto the puck, brace myself, and I had this tremendous impact. And I kind of, neither one of us went down. And I look up, he looks up, and he's like, what the F? I was like, I got hit really, really hard. And Scotty was probably, I never talked to him about it. And he was probably thinking, I hit him really, really hard. And he's still there. So that was my experience with Scotty Stevens playing against him. Playing with him, he was a great inspiration every single day. Practice, off-ice workouts, discipline in the games, all that. So it was a pleasure. I feel, Scotty comes to mind the most, but Marty as well, Claude Lemieux, those guys were great role models to have right beside you.
Bob, you didn't play with him too much, but you did play with him at the beginning of his career, and the end of yours. Patrick Elias, and he's obviously a countryman of yours. So, what can you say about him? He was obviously a remarkable player, not yet in the Hall of Fame, but what can you say about playing with someone?
He should be in the Hall of Fame.
You know what? As much as I like Patrick and I like him as a friend and as a hockey player, I think he was an amazing hockey player. I speaking of the Hall of Fame standards, I would like to keep them a little higher. There's maybe not always nominate or name players and whoever else is get nominated or inducted, because I think Hall of Fame should be elite of the elite. That's a conversation for another day. But Patrick he came to New Jersey, I think I started playing with him in 1996, and we played together. First year he played our left wing, Randy McKay, myself, and Patrick, and he comes about 20, 25 minutes from where I'm from, same area, same nature, in a sense of hard work, discipline, and just kind of proving people that he wants to earn his opportunities. And he did it till his last day. And he played for New Jersey 20 years. I played with him about 4 or 5 years initially, then I came back for another year. But we stayed in touch. I think I just talked to him a couple of days ago. Great guy, great friend. And truly great hockey player. And he was his skating ability, his skills, and just his work ethic. You know, it always comes down. Whether you talk about great hockey players or great artists or great anything, the work ethic is the first and most important thing, and then everything else comes in. You know, I always when I work with youth, it's work ethic, discipline, willingness to sacrifice, determination. You don't talk about talent, you don't talk about skills, you don't talk about vision, nothing. Those four, you get those four things kind of ingrained in you, you're gonna go places no matter what you do.
Bobby Holik, two-time Stanley Cup champion, legendary career in the NHL. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We'll let you get back to your beautiful Wyoming landscape, and thanks again for doing this.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Bobby. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Take care, Bobby. Bobby Holik joining us this morning on the 15-year anniversary.
I could listen to Bobby Holik talk about the Devils all day long.
We know we can tell that you're very excited about that. But amen, Bobby Holik, the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Very Good. I've been banging that drum probably for the entirety of the 15 years of this show. Well, and finally somebody backs me up.
Well, no, absolutely. And I mean, guys, over the years, right? Like we've been having those debates about like another guy that I've long said that should be in the Hall of Fame. I think Dave agrees with me. Alex McGillney, right? And McGillney, people forget, was a big part of that team that won the Cup in 2000. I mean, that was towards the end of his career. Just look at what McGillney did in the NHL and internationally, right? And that's the other thing. You know, on this topic, more women should be in the Hall of Fame. I have long said this. Jennifer Botterill should be in the Hall of Fame. I will argue with anybody about that. And Jennifer Botterill, we've had her on the show a few times. She's very humble. She's also turned into one of the best damn analysts in the game and deserves a lot of credit for that. But Jennifer Botterill should absolutely be in the Hall of Fame, and more women, more female players should be in the Hall of Fame. I just wanted to say that.
That's one of the smartest things you've said in 15 years on this show, Ezzy. So
well, hold on. Speaking of women.
Hey guys, just wanted to wish you a big congratulations on 15 great years. Congrats on everything that you have built over this time. Thanks for all of the laughs, all of the fun times talking hockey with you. And here's to 15 more.
Oh, that's awesome.
All we hear from Sarah.
We can't hear just from Sarah because I would want to insult her Jets colleague, Jamie Thomas.
Drew, Dave, Ezzy, congratulations on 15 years of the Illegal Curve. I was in a car the first time I heard the Illegal Curve, so I thought I'd tape this message in a car. I was going to do it while I was driving, but I got some real good legal advice telling me not to do so, admitting guilt of an illegal action. So thank you for that great legal advice I just received. I won't say from who, Dave. Congratulations on 15 years, guys. Hope here's to 15 more years of the Illegal Curve on the air. It's great staying power by you guys, considering how the market has changed and the business has changed. It speaks to how resilient the three of you are and whoever else is involved with the show. Congrats, guys. Have a great show. See you soon.
Jamie Thomas, our good friend, far better at recording videos and
amazing
recording podcasts than he is at fantasy
Thanks, Jamie.
football, as I consistently defeat him in our fantasy football league. So that's my little toot of my own horn. But big thanks to Jamie, big thanks to Sarah for joining us, as well as everybody else.
You said big though, right? And Ezzy does tend to call this guy the Big Rig, so let's give him a.
Hi everybody, and hi Drew, hi Dave, hi Ez. Happy anniversary, Illegal Curve. Jim Toth here, which you might know me from such movies as Drunk Until Dawn and Hang 'Em High. Knowing you guys the whole 15 years, knowing your program, and just love it. Appreciate you having me on the odd time. It's a real pleasure. And if there was ever a crew that I knew could last 15 years and probably 50 more, it's Illegal Curve. So happy anniversary, guys. Enjoy.
Man, thanks, Jim.
I'm just
do you guys think we'll be doing this show when we're in our 70s?
I mean, honestly, like, we're not that far away from one of us, and I don't want to name names. If the next time we have a milestone anniversary, I believe that person will have cracked the 50-year-old mark, if I'm not mistaken.
That's huge. You should know when your birthday.
It's not, in fact, me, but we don't need to name names. But just want to, that would be hard to believe. Actually, what's going to happen is our kids are just going to take over for us. I think at some point in time, we're just going to be shuffled off to the old age home, and the kids will take over, and they can do the show at that point.
Who's going to host? Obviously, Sam comes to mind.
Well, I don't know. Remus will look exactly the same because he doesn't age.
Yeah.
So it'll be perfectly fine. We'll just get the next generation of children in to do the show after that. We were supposed to touch on a little bit earlier in the show, but things happen and that's okay. I guess the news of the Olympics and the NHL, that's an exciting development from
and the
earlier.
Four Nations tournament as well.
Yeah, the Four Nations tournament to me is a little hokey. I'm not that as excited by it.
It's better than the 2016 World Cup, Drew.
That's true. Best on best is best on best is always going to be good, but to me the Olympics are still where the excitement level is at, and of course there's going to be so many, and we don't need to get into it, the geopolitical machinations that are going to be taking place between now and whenever these tournaments begin to see what countries are actually allowed to participate and what countries aren't allowed to participate. But it is at least exciting that it seems like everybody's on board with the Olympics, and it doesn't seem like the NHL, as in the owners, are begrudgingly having to be dragged to them as they were in previous times, Ezzy.
Yeah, it's just great news that we're going to have Olympics, NHL participation at the Olympics, because the last year was 2014, if I remember correctly, and that's 10 years ago, guys. And let's be honest here. The general interest in hockey at the Olympics is not as high when the NHL isn't involved.
Yeah.
And so it's just great. I mean, like we thought there was a chance back in 2022, and there was obviously the disagreements between the NHL and the IIHF and the IOC and all that. And it goes back to what I said earlier. There was so much news happening yesterday. First, Pierre LeBrun breaks the news that Sean Monahan's on his way to the Jets. And then it was like 20 minutes later or something, Todd McClellan was fired by the Kings. And it's like somehow this Olympic news just got absolutely buried. So I'm excited. And this is the main reason why I'm excited. We have never seen Connor McDavid, the best player alive right now, in best on best competition. He's 26 years old now. And we've yet to see him in either a World Cup or an Olympic event. So, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, how can you not be excited about seeing Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby playing together for Team Canada?
There's no way you possibly can't be excited. And look who's joining us from Vegas. The lawman.
Surprise, Drew. Drew had no idea, lawman. He didn't know about this.
I had no clue. Hi, Gary. How are you, buddy?
Hey, good morning, guys. How's it going?
Hey, we're fine and dandy. Thanks so much for joining us. It's what time is it there? 8:55 in the morning, right? So
yeah. Congratulations, guys. 15 years. Wow, that's incredible. What an accomplishment.
It's
Thanks,
been
Gary. I was mentioning that we first met back in the Mona Lisa days when you asked me to go get a pack of cigarettes because it was raining outside. That was back in 2004, 2005.
Ezra, what happens at Mona Lisa stays at Mona Lisa. Okay.
You should have known better.
That's very true. Very true.
Yeah, you should have known better than that, Gary.
I think my date at the time wanted to smoke. So yes.
Good cover, right?
Shout out to Joe Grande.
Yeah.
Our respective children can never know about the days when we didn't have children and we weren't family men and responsible human beings.
My daughter's in the next room, so my cover's blown here.
It's okay. I think speaking of cover blown, I'm pretty sure Huss just took a hit of that vape right there before joining us.
H&L.
Drew, you got to live that vape life, man.
What's up, Phyllis? You guys were quick on the draw there. What's
I hope Chris Brook is watching. Like this is 1290 OG right here.
It's the dream team, lawman.
It's hard to believe the radio station doesn't exist anymore. I can't figure out why that would be the case.
Big day Friday, guys. 3 years to the day of us all getting whacked.
Yeah. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. I missed that anniversary.
February 9th. Always a special
No, coming up, Drew. Coming up.
It's coming up. Well, I don't think
happy anniversary, fellas.
Coincides anymore. Thank you, Huss. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Pretty exciting day yesterday with the deal. And obviously, the main event today is celebrating 15 years of Illegal Curve. Thanks for the invite. Great to see Gary, but most importantly, great to see you and all the Winnipeg hockey fans hanging out with you guys on a Saturday morning as they've been doing for... It is hard to wrap my head around. Like, 15 years dating back to well before we even started on 1290. It's been an incredible run. And the show, I will say, is as fun and entertaining as it has ever been.
We appreciate that. Our nonsense continues. We may have more gray in our beards, but our nonsense continues unabated as it has from day one.
I always get irked in the summer when I'm at the lake and you guys go on vacation. I'm like, I'm on vacation. I want to listen to them. They're not allowed to be on vacation.
Our wives want to spend exactly 4 or 5 Saturdays with us a year, and then
no, they don't. They don't.
They do, honestly.
Lip service.
No? Okay, sorry. I was hoping that was the case.
Talking about Drew, Laura's literally like, Drew, do something. I mean, you're all you do is hang around the house all day long. So
you guys thought about going 6 days a week.
Well, this past week, with it being the bye week and there's no post game shows, she's like looking at me. It's like, when I'm interrupting her TV time, she's like, "Don't you have something else you could be doing right now than interrupting me with whatever crap show I'm watching?" So I think she's looking forward to this season resuming on Tuesday.
How do you guys get this aren't you not supposed to work on Saturdays?
That's a good point.
That's a
good
the
point.
Rabbi doesn't know. The rabbi doesn't.
You know what? Don't worry, Gary. Maddie Leibel's in Disneyland right now, so we're good.
Yes. Now that the libelous one is the man with the Torah, you're allowed to do whatever you want. Okay. All right.
He's always been a little bit goofy.
Yeah, rules are made to be broken. You know that. I think we broke all the rules. Whatever the broadcasting rules or the best practices were back in the day, I'm not sure that we ever really followed those best practices very diligently, much to the chagrin of Chris, who was we played a video. You guys might have missed it. We played a video from Chris Brook back in hour number 1 of the broadcast. So that was.
And by the way, thank you for sending us those videos, boys.
Yeah,
I appreciate
love
it.
that, boys. I mean, if I can take over here, though, Drew, I think the question that everybody wants me to ask to Gary and get this out of the way, because the sandwich wars go back about 10 years.
Yeah,
Hustler and
McRib is
Lawless
back.
had their own sandwich. Shout out to the Steak family here, Harrison, Garth. I mean, Gary, if you're hooked up to a lie detector test, be honest here. Which sandwich is better, the Hustler and Lawless sandwich or the IC sandwich currently available at Bernstein's Deli?
Well, I can tell you very truthfully that I have absolutely no idea, because I have never had an illegal curve sandwich. Once you've had an H&L, you never try anything else. Once you've had Nirvana, why would you go from a perfect 529 filet mignon to having like a Shopsy's hot dog? You just wouldn't do it. So sorry,
What was the old commercial? I think Gary went, "Even I couldn't finish it."
Yeah, that's right. Even I couldn't finish it.
For a long time, they had a little picture of me and my daughter at their till, like she was eating the sandwich, and I don't know if it's still there. I go back once a summer and grab one, but I missed it last summer because we were busy. We didn't get in the city very often last summer.
Well, the private jet just lands you in Winnipeg Beach, right?
No, actually, we fly
Chopper.
to Grand Forks and then drive to the lake from there. It's a lot cheaper to do it that way, and when you're bringing the luggage and the pets and the kids and all the stuff that we do when we.
And Gary, don't forget about the Stanley Cup.
Yes. I didn't bring the Stanley Cup, but actually, if we were back at the old 1290 days, I would love it now, because when Troy Westwood used to get really exercised about something I'd said, I could always wave my Grey Cup ring, and it would silence him. Well, now I could wave my Grey Cup ring and my Stanley Cup ring.
Have you done the research? Is there anyone else who's got both?
There's Wayne Gretzky has both. We had a chat about it at the Winter Classic. He owned the Toronto Argonauts when they won. What did Hustler say?
I just like
other great
Gretzky and I had this conversation at the Winter Classic about how we both have Grey Cup rings and Stanley Cup rings.
There's the list is not very long, and right. I am the most insignificant by a ton. If you hadn't have said that, no one would know. It's not many people know that I was been lucky enough to to be in two places that won at the same and have those rings. But it's a cool piece of Canadiana to have one of each.
And it's good to remind Westy of that at every given opportunity, I'm sure, as well.
I haven't spoken to him since I left 1290, and we don't bang into each other ever, but I'm sure he's listening, and it's infuriating him, and that makes my Saturday.
Gary would always roll in, bring that thing out or just mention it, and Westy would be, it was Gary always knows where to poke. That's that was one of his skills that was quite apparent well into our early time talking into these mics.
Well, Huss, I actually asked Adam Toy to come on, but he's actually parking Gary's car right now, so he actually couldn't make it.
Getting my dry cleaning. He's getting my dry cleaning. He's not parking my car.
Do you have a person that does your errands for you in the Vegas Golden Knights front office? Is it like
no.
Chance when he's out of uniform? Go get the dry cleaning, Chance.
Actually, that's a good piece of content, Hustler. I think I'll suggest that to my boss.
Oh, boys, thank you. It's been great walking down memory lane with both of you. It's great to see you, Gary. Obviously, Huss, we see you more often, but Gary, it's great to see you. We're still waiting on the invite to come up to the cottage, and any day now, I'm sure we're going to get it.
Yes,
but,
it's in the mail.
Exactly.
Never mind the cottage. You should do a little 15th anniversary trip, maybe down to Vegas at some point, guys. That'll make the wives very happy.
In Vegas.
We'll see you in the Western Conference Final. How's that? That would make everyone happy, wouldn't it?
There you go.
You know what? Let's do that.
By the way, Gary, I still have to talk to you about getting me those U2 tickets at the Sphere. So just you're going to get that text pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
and Super Bowl tickets for next
week.
Adam
Toy is in charge of that. Contact Adam.
And you'll get him as soon as you get your hotel room in New Orleans at the Super Bowl, guys.
Low blow.
Yeah,
That's the low blow.
That was a low point.
Yes, that was a low point.
You guys
low point. I was the one that had to stay an extra day in Metairie, Louisiana before leaving on Tuesday. Although that extra day left to my own devices was kind of fun.
We're lucky you're still with us.
That'll be Illegal Curve After Dark. We'll tell that story.
Hustler and being left to his own devices. That's just a dangerous combo.
In New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
Shook it off.
I'm still thinking about 2014 when him and Ezzy just disappeared into the Philadelphia night, and we thought to never be seen again.
Us, I'm not sure if you caught on to that Swiftie reference with "Shook It Off," but that's where I was going with that. Go Chiefs!
You know what? Nicely done. I mean, I have joined. I mean, listen, the Chiefs Kingdom and the Swifties coming together, the most powerful now force in the universe. But I don't have the full knowledge of the catalog, but I'm getting better each and every week. I've been going down some pretty deep Swiftie streets right now. I'm learning a lot every day. It's great.
It's amazing that the Raiders, their brand new, beautiful stadium, and the first playoff game that's going to be played in their stadium is against their old AFC rivals, the Chiefs, and their Northern California rival, the 49ers.
I can't wait to see Chiefs painted in that end zone. That will be
right now you drive by and the Death Star is it's all lit up with Chiefs versus 49ers. It's pretty impressive.
That's awesome.
I have some Adam Toy work. I got a text from James Duthie about a week ago telling me that I had to arrange golf for him and the rest of the TSN crew. So I almost have that accomplished. But next thing it'll be Farhan Lalji and Naylor ordering me around to get dinner reservations for them.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown, Gary. That's what you get for being Mr. Vegas. Thank you, guys.
I loved having you guys on. I've been thinking about it for basically the last couple of weeks. We started off together back in 2011. I'm not going to start crying here, Gary, I promise. But
cry away.
Nah, I'm not going to cry. I mean, Huss is.
You told Mess you wouldn't do this.
I told Mess I wouldn't do this, but I mean, you guys are obviously. I mean, we've had so much fun over the years, and there's no better way to end our 15th anniversary show than having Hustler and Lawless. We've got lots of comments of people loving seeing you guys joining us. So, Lawman, you're a defending Stanley Cup champion, but I think the Jets might be coming for you this year.
We'll see you in 15 years, guys. Keep up the great work. And you're a Manitoba institution. And I'm, very proud for you and happy to call you all friends. And just tremendous show, and keep it up. Hustler, I don't watch your show anymore. It sucks. So I check it out every once in a while. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, Gary.
Cheers, Lawman.
Hey,
Cheers.
and as I do have a gift, an anniversary gift for you in particular. You're going to AEW on April 10th. We're getting the band back together. So,
man, Huss, I'm there. We went to AEW. What was that? Like 6 months ago or something, and we saw MJF's bar mitzvah.
The bar mitzvah
with Michael Remus and Benji Rothman. So I'm there just for the opportunity to put Remus through the announce table.
Yeah, well, we have to go full NWO with Greg Liverpool as well. We'll get the band together, and good things will happen. Seriously,
we saw him last week. We saw him at our watch party last week. He's going strong.
Caller number 3.
Caller number 1. Don't say that; he'll lose his mind. And Greg now actually has a new look. A black cowboy hat, a black bomber cowboy hat that is now part of the look everywhere. We now refer to him as the sheriff.
Caller number 1 was actually the guy from Headingley, who was always the guy that was in jail that was trying to get a hold of April all the time.
Yeah, okay, a freak, yes.
Yeah.
That's shower curtain days. He's like almost -1, if you
will. April was our original producer. She was was fantastic.
I don't remember April, but anyways, you missed.
Well, because Huss and Gary are the original OGs.
I know. You guys missed Rick Ralph's cowboy hat. You got to go back and watch the replay and look at the cowboy hat Rick's now sporting because he lives out in Alberta.
Oh, he's full Calgary guy now. He's full Calgary guy. You should see his chaps.
Chris Brook just texted me and said you guys had Richie on earlier, and I didn't see that, so I will go back and. How's Richie doing? Everything good for him?
He's good. Yeah, he's good. He's a little bit busy though, Gary. I don't know if you know this, but he's got a 2.5-year-old daughter and he's got 1-year-old twins, Max and Sydney, boy and girl twins. So he's got 3 kids now, but it's okay because they've got 4 nannies, so they take care of all that.
Well, that's fantastic to hear.
We bookended the show. We had Remus and Rich on with us to start, and we're going to wrap it up with the 2 of you. So we appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much. It's been a ton of fun. We'll do it again real soon.
Happy anniversary, fellas! All the best and congratulations.
Thanks, guys. See you at AEW.
Be well.
You got it.
So we've had Gary and Huss on.
Yeah.
Right. And that makes me think. Well, didn't we have an intern at one point for Illegal Curve? And we did, and it was him.
15 years for the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. That is absolutely wild. Let's go! Just want to congratulate you guys on all the success. It's so amazing what you've been able to build. Really, like, when you think of Winnipeg, you think of the Jets. Illegal Curve is really one of the first things that comes to your mind. So I just want to congratulate you guys on all your success. Obviously, IC has a special place in my heart. You guys gave me my first opportunity, and I'll never forget how nice you guys were to me.
That kind of Jesse's a little short. Jesse sent it to me today, so I was like rushing to kind of get it through and get it in. So I got as best I could.
There you go. There's our good friend Jesse Polk, now of TSN's Bar Down. He did start as an Illegal Curve intern.
Now this person was never in. I'm just trying to shoehorn the last few in because I don't want to miss anybody. But I haven't seen this one yet. He told me not to watch it till the show, so it was hard for me to resist. I was actually worried, Drew, because I put these all in last night, and I was worried you were going to see them.
I saw them, but I didn't play them.
Okay, I'm glad you did. Because I wanted it to be a surprise for you and Ez, which obviously it's been. But here's one of our other friends, and I'll have 1 or 2 more. But this is Scott Billick of the Winnipeg Sun.
Well, howdy, fellas. It's been 15 years since the McDonald's last had the McRib. I've eaten 3 of these bad boys right now. It's also the 15th anniversary of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, which you guys don't bring me on anymore. But that's okay. I wanted to congratulate you guys anyways. So to Drew, to Ezzy, And to Dave, who I see far too often these days now, that he likes to come to games all the time, happy 15th anniversary. And let me know when you lift my suspension. Okay, thanks, bye.
There's no suspension. I just looked on the list. He's been on at least once. He'll be on again soon.
I literally texted Scotty. People don't necessarily know this, but like we don't always get our first choice, right? Scotty is always our first choice, but I texted him last week, so I'm sure he's going to be on next week or the week after. But thanks to Scotty for that, and thank you to my third cousin Jesse Pollock as well, who's absolutely killing it at the All-Star game. If you don't follow Jesse on X or TikTok or whatever, I think he's got like 500,000 followers or something on TikTok.
Yeah, and only 498,000 of them
hate him.
Onto his tweet with an anti-Semitic response. So that's always
yeah,
exciting.
exactly. Yeah.
Well,
Jesse's killing it. I just think people are jealous.
I mean, I
Or
just
assholes, and either way.
I was just gonna say, but like this has been about cheer, and like this show has been very cheerful, and we've been cheering each other on. Folks have been coming and cheering us on. So speaking of cheers, I mean, this guy brings a lot of cheers to the folks. You might recognize him as Cameron Cheers, the guy who does the shirts and stuff like that. But he had a message for Illegal Curve.
It's your buddy Cameron Hughes. I want to say a big cheer and congratulate you for 15 years of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. For 15 years, you've done a show that's illegal, that's had a curve in it about hockey, and you've turned it into a show for 15 years. And that is something that is mighty impressive, worth celebrating. You've got viewers across the world. You've brought in people. You've connected people. You've shared your knowledge, your passion with so many different people. And that is a win. That is a win, win, win. And I know as a creative person, putting yourself out there isn't always easy. The challenges, the highs and lows. Should we keep doing this? How do we do this? But you did it. You're doing it. 15 years of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. The illegal, I don't know what's illegal about it, but I like it. And I appreciate your support. Continued success. I can't wait to see you guys soon. Celebrate. Big cheer.
Oh, man, that's
what
awesome.
I want to know is how much money Dave spent on Cameo putting these all together.
None. That was Cam. We know Cam, of course, because he, of course, does all the cheers and gets folks out of the crowd when he does the T-shirts. And look, he's a success story in himself. He's an Ottawa guy, and he's created a career essentially going around to various sporting events. He actually did that video, boys, in Prague at like 5 a.m. So that was nice of him to do. He'd been on a plane. He was very amped to do it right away. So a big shout out to Cam for doing it, for joining us. I appreciated that. And I have one more. Last one. We've got through them all. And I thank everybody for
obviously
doing it.
Adam Toy, right?
No, someone a little bit higher up, someone that most Manitobans or Winnipeggers are going to know.
Hey, Drew, Ezra, and Dave, just wanted to wish you a happy 15th anniversary on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. And I want to say as a fan, thank you for bringing the Jets to us consistently and conversation about the team that we love. It's really important. We know that in this town, the Jets are a key part of civic pride. And no doubt this week you'll be talking about Monahan and that great deal for the Jets. Really thrilled to see that happen. But as a guy who's been sitting in the top row of the 300s since the Jets came back, I wanted to say thank you again and wish you a happy 15th. How old are these guys? 15th.
Fantastic.
Wow.
His worship, Mayor Scott Gillingham.
Wow.
Sending us out some love. That's fantastic.
Wow, I'm blown away. Thank you so much to our mayor for that. Dave, hey, you killed it. I had no idea. I guess Drew had an idea. I kept Hustler and Lawless under wraps. Obviously, I kept Richie and Remus under wraps for the public. But that's pretty awesome that we got the mayor on. Thank you so much to Mayor Scott Gillingham for that. That means a lot.
That is, this
That's it. I got no more.
You got no more, Dave. You're done.
I got nothing left.
That's great. You've done a great job. Ezzy, you did a great job. I did an adequate job. That's usually the best you can get from me.
Mediocre.
All of you in the chat have done a great job since you did a great job today. You did a great job since we moved to this platform. It's been a wild 15 years. It really has been. I'm not even sure where the time has gone. The memories, most of the stories we're not really able to tell on air, but that's okay. We were able to tell a few of them on air, but that's just because we've had so much fun together for the past 15 years. And you've been all an integral part of it, because if it wasn't for you tuning in either on radio or on YouTube or on podcasts, it wouldn't exist. And we
Yeah.
want to say a big thank you to our sponsors as well, because they're
Come on, Frosty. Let's go.
integral part of it as well. Our friends, of course, at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Grid Park, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and of course, Farmery Beer, home of Illegal Curve Lager. Just thanks to them. Thanks to you. Ezzy, you want to say one more thing real quick? Go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I know we've gone late here. It's, I think, around 11:15, 11:16 here. I mean, I just want to say on behalf of Drew, Dave, Richie, and Remus, I mean, thank you to everybody who watches the show live or watches the replay or listens to the podcast, the chat. I'm looking at you, chat. Get some comments up there, Dave or Drew, while I get emotional here. But I mean, 3 years ago when the radio station shut down, Dave, Drew, and I weren't sure if we were gonna continue doing the show. And it was the fans that kept us going. We got emails, we got texts, we got phone calls from people telling us, you guys remember that back in 2021, people were sending us messages from all over North America, really, saying that you got to keep the show going. And that was during COVID. That was right in the middle of COVID. We weren't sure if we were going to keep it going. So it was you guys, the people who watch the show every week.
You guys and you gals.
You guys and you gals. That's right.
why I say folks.
You folks. Okay, let's go with folks.
Y'all. You can go with y'all.
Yeah.
Ezzy, you know.
All of
As long as you
y'all,
spell it right.
Yeah, we'll go south to Kentucky here. All of y'all who watch the show and you send us your emails and, you know, we run into you. You know, I run into people every so often. It's usually 30-plus-year-old dudes, but that's okay. People, you know, telling us that they love the show. They listen every week. It's you guys.
And gals.
And gals.
You guys keep us going.
He's a quick learner, folks. He's a quick learner.
Yeah, so it means a lot to us. 15 years is long, but that's the most important. And obviously, you know, thanks to our families, you know, Laura, Naomi, Sylvia, our kids, you know, our close friends, for all the support over the years. I mean, we love doing this. We wouldn't do it if we didn't love doing it. And so that's what I wanted to say.
Well said, Ginsburg.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minute Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
No, I'm kidding. I won't really be doing a Manuk Moose Minute, but I wanted to steal and get 1 minute of my own because as he spoke, and he spoke eloquently, loved what Ez had to say, but I want to give a thanks because, you know, I mean, I've spent every day, every Saturday, every Wednesday with you guys. I haven't missed a show in 15 years, as everybody knows. And of course, let's not forget, while the show is 15 years, as he reminded me this morning, the website, 17 years already. 2007 is our incorporation. So, but Ez is right. I mean, it's Hustler brought it up. I think it's appropriate given the fact that, you know, this week or in 6 days would have been the anniversary of when 1290 shut down. And I remember talking to the boys and I was like, we're not missing a beat. We're going to keep this thing going and we're going to do our Saturday show. Over 600 of you joined us that Saturday. We've had over 600 today joining us for this Saturday show. So what's that?
We've got the comment up. Spency apparently had no idea that we had a website.
Yes. It's called illegalcurve.com, Spency. It's got all the latest Jets and Moose news, in case you were wondering. Sometimes other news, but generally speaking, it's Jets and Moose. But no, I want to thank everyone because when we switched to this format, we didn't know what it was going to be like. And it is exponentially better than being on the radio. There's no question. I mean, other than having to stare at these two baboons, but like the comments, the commentary, the chat, that kind of thing is so uplifting and it's so rewarding to see, and the growth in the channel. All of you are subscribing, I'm sure. So let's make sure you're subscribing to our YouTube channel. But that to me is so validating, and we get so much out of what you guys bring and gals bring every single Saturday or when we're doing the show after every Jets game. So on behalf of myself, I want to thank everyone for what you guys do. And of course, for coming to illegalcurve.com on multiple times per day, the most updated Jets Moose place you're going to find on the internet.
How can I follow what Dave and Ezzy said? I can't. I'm not going to try. Tuesday night, around 8:45, the Jets
back.
and the Pittsburgh Penguins, the post-game show. We took we've been off for a week. It feels like we've been off for 10 weeks. We'll be back Tuesday night with the Jets and the Penguins. And of course, for the final 35 games and however long the playoff run lasts. And of course, every Saturday here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to all the people who joined us and sent in videos. Big thanks to Scott Arneal. Big thanks to Bobby Holik, in case you missed any of that. The instant replays on the YouTube channel. channel. The podcast will be up shortly. Be sure to tell all your friends and all your family the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. And again, on Saturday mornings is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. For Ezra Ginsburg, for Dave Minuk, I'm your host, Drew Mindell, for the past 15 years and for 15 more years at the very least. If it's Saturday, it's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, live on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.